Yo, oh, I'm little. Let me make this up. Hello, hello. Happy Sunday. Yes, happy Sunday. Hi, 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 hi. Can you guys see me and hear me? Okay, we should be good at least on my end. But let me know. I hope you guys are having a good day. Happy Sunday. We are back with. Let me make sure my settings. Yeah, we are back with. Thank you, Evie. Jeffrey Epstein. Yes, 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 yes. It's been a few days. I know people were asking me if I was done talking about it. Nope, we're not. We're going to read a big document today. Shout out to you guys for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Please hit the like button on the way in. Yes, yes, listen to Evie. It does help the channel push us out into the YouTube, push the channel out into the algorithm. I would greatly appreciate that. And welcome. Hello to all of you, new subs, replay viewers, all of the above. Thank you for being here. We're going to be getting into a document that has now been deleted off the DOJ website. It's a document regarding basically Epstein and his co-conspirators, and it is from December 19th, 2019. This is document EFTA 02731082, no longer available on the DOJ website. Why did they take it down? I don't know. It's pretty long, but a lot of it is redacted. There's pages and pages that are redacted, of course. So it's probably not that long. And then I do have a set of photos I was thinking we could go through before I make them into a video. So we'll see how much we can get through today. I'm going to share so much. Yes, so much. Let me say hi to everyone. Robert, Debbie, Evie, Vanjie, Crease, hello, hello, hello. Shay, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Yeah, there is a lot with Epstein, and I'm trying to catch as much as I can from the website before they completely get erased. So, or deleted. This is, oh, wrong document over here. This is a document. Hello, beautifully broken. Good to see you. Sorry, let me fix my screens. Okay. Let's get started. So, December 19th, 2018, investigation into potential co-conspirators of Jeffrey Epstein. Let me make sure everything's good on the screen. Yeah. Okay, this memorandum details the investigative steps taken since the indictment of Jeffrey Epstein in this district on July 2nd, 2019, and analyzes the extent to which Epstein's associates and employees may or may not be criminally liable for their conduct during their employment with Epstein. One background. On July 2nd, 2019, a federal grand jury in the Southern District of New York returned a sealed indictment charging JE with one count of SEX trafficking of minors and one count of conspiracy to commit of minors. I might hold back from saying some words and use other words for like grape and stuff like that, because YouTube is going down real hard on people who are covering Epstein. The prosecution memorandum in support of that indictment details the evidence gathered regarding Epstein and his associates during our office's pre-indictment investigation. That evidence revealed that beginning in at least 2002, Epstein enticed and recruited dozens of minor girls to engage in SEX acts with him, for which he paid the victims hundreds of dollars in cash. He undertook this activity in at least two different locations, including his mansion in New York, the New York residence, and his estate in Palm Beach, Florida, the Palm Beach residence. In both New York and Florida, Epstein perpetuated this abuse in similar ways. Victims were recruited to provide massages, which would be performed nude or partially nude, and would become increasingly actual in nature and would typically include one or more SEX acts, including groping and direct or indirect contact with the victims. You know what? Epstein paid his victims hundreds of dollars in cash for each separate encounter. Moreover, Epstein actively encouraged certain of his victims to recruit additional girls to be similarly SEX abused. He incentivized his victims to become recruiters by paying these victim recruiters hundreds of dollars for each girl they brought to him. In this fashion, Epstein created a vast network of underage victims as young as 14 in locations and including New York and Palm Beach. In creating and maintaining a network of minor victims who he essayed, Epstein worked with others, including employees and associates who facilitated his exploitation of minors by, among other things, contacting victims and scheduling their SCX encounters with Epstein, both in New York and in Florida. Epstein was arrested on July 6th, 2019, and the indictment against him was sealed on July 8th, 2 days later. That same day, our office held a press conference asking anyone with information, including any victims, to come forward and meet with investigators. In the wake of the press conference, numerous victims and witnesses came forward and were interviewed by the FBI and our office. On or about August 10th, 2019, Epstein unalived himself in the custody of the MCC. Since his death, we have continued the investigation that remained ongoing following the return of the indictment against Epstein into potential co-conspirators. In particular, that investigation focused on Ghislaine Maxwell, Redacted, and Leslie Groff. I don't know why they would redact this person. They named everybody else. This memo details the steps taken in this investigation since July 2019, summarizes the potential charges for the conduct at issue, and analyzes the evidence against certain of Epstein's associates and employees, Redacted, and Leslie Groff and Ghislaine Maxwell. The potential charges against Maxwell will be further analyzed in separate prosecution memorandum, which is expected to seek authorization to charge Maxwell with federal offenses for her role in facilitating the transfer of minors for illegal acts. So we know, obviously, she's in prison. Deleted, yes, they did. Hey, MSM, they did delete it. It's no longer there on the website. Investigative steps taken. Since the indictment was sealed on July 5th, 2019, our office and the FBI have been contacted by numerous potential witnesses, both directly and through attorneys. Every unrepresented person who contacted the investigative team, either through the FBI tip line or by calling our office, was contacted in the first instance by an FBI agent for an initial screening interview. The FBI then provided our office with names and contacts information of individuals who appear to have information pertinent to our investigation. The AESA, the Attorney State Assistants and case agents then conducted follow-up interviews of those identified individuals. In addition, the investigative team initiated contact with numerous witnesses about whom we learned both through our investigation and through press reporting. Although some individuals declined to be interviewed, we ultimately conducted dozens of witness interviews and proffers. At the same time, following the unsealing of the indictment, our office and FBI took numerous additional investigative steps, including the execution of search warrants, the review of financial records and other documents, and meetings with attorneys for numerous subjects of the investigation. This section walks through the information gathered during our continuing investigation since Epstein's arrest in July of 2019. First, we summarize the interviews conducted with victims who were as minors. Second, we summarize individuals conducted with victims who were as adults. Third, we summarize interviews conducted with victims who were not abused. Fourth, we summarize the interviews with individuals who are subjects of the investigation. Fifth, we summarize our interview with one victim, Redacted. Finally, we walk through our investigative steps such as attorney proffer, search warrants, and document review. I'll have to see if I can find out who this person is here, or maybe we will as we go through this. Interviews of victims who were as minors. Since the unsealing of the indictment, we have been in regular contact with attorneys who represent, and then there's 2 sentences all redacted. Over the course of multiple proffers, all conducted between March 2019 and July 2019, Redacted has described how she was recruited to engage in SCX contact with Epstein in approximately Redacted at the age of approximately 14. While at a New York City club, Redacted met another teenager who described having worked for a rich man, giving topless massages and recruiting other girls to do the same, and invited Redacted to make money this way. At the time, Redacted was living by herself and supporting herself financially, having moved away from a difficult home life. That's sad because we know that, they did select Hey, Tippy. Vulnerable females and girls. Redacted ultimately visited Epstein's New York residence to engage in SCX massages and other acts at least dozens of times between approximately Redacted, all while she was a minor. During these visits, Redacted performed erotic massages on Epstein, including being partially or fully nude while she massaged him. Most or all of the massages performed by Redacted would end with Epstein, MASTUR, you know that word, and EJAC, you can read for yourself. During some of the massages, Epstein touched the genitals of Redacted with his hand or with a vibrator or SCX toy. Redacted also reported a hazy memory of Redacted participating in an incident in which Redacted was nude with Epstein in his bed. Well, so what other man was nude with Epstein in his bed? It's Redacted. Interesting. Hold, please. Let me turn off my heater because I want to know who the man was in his bed. I still want to see. Yeah, we will, Evie. We'll go through some of those pictures. I'm a conspiracy theorist. I still believe he's alive. I wouldn't call myself a conspiracy theorist, but some would say I am. I think he is too. So you're not alone there. Sorry, I closed out of the document. So Redacted was with Epstein in his bed. Redacted could not recall the details of any SCX acts that occurred during that interaction with Redacted. Epstein ordinarily paid Redacted $300 in cash after a massage was completed. During an earlier visit, Redacted recalls Epstein asking her how old she was and her truthfully telling him that she was 14 years old. After Redacted initial meetings with Epstein, he asked her, in sum and substance, to recruit other girls for the same activity. Over approximately the next 2 years, Redacted estimates she brought dozens of girls to Epstein to provide massages at his New York residence, starting with girls she knew from community and eventually strangers whom Redacted met at bars, clubs, or other locations. Redacted would describe to the girls what was expected, i.e., that they would provide erotic massages to Epstein while nude, and that Epstein might touch them or ask them to touch him. Redacted would schedule appointments for the girls by phone with Leslie Groff. Ugh, I'm sick. These are disgusting humans. Let's see. I forget who some of these people are. Resident and longtime Jeffrey Epstein aide. Leslie Groff is mentioned she's mentioned a lot. Co-conspirator of her boss. She worked for him. So if a world leader wanted to fly Epstein's plane or needed an assistant getting their kids into college, they went to Groff. Everyone from Prince Andrew to Elon Musk to Steve Bannon and Woody Allen. Her name comes up in the Epstein files over 150,000 times. That's ridiculous. She should be arrested. Hey, good to see you, Liv. Ew, yuck is right, Vanjie. Absolutely. Good to see you, F. Chupin. So let's see. Redacted provided a description of Epstein's New York address, which corroborated with the photos taken by the execution of the search warrants. Okay, that was like the footnote. So although Redacted recalls meeting Groff on at least one occasion at her office to pick up some money, she did not have extensive interactions with Groff and did not tell Groff her age. Each time Redacted brought a girl to Epstein, Redacted was paid $300 and the other girl would receive $300, always in cash. After Redacted brought a girl to Epstein, he would sometimes either tell Redacted to bring the girl again if he liked her or tell Redacted not to bring the girl again. Redacted noticed that the girls Epstein were liked were generally younger and more petite. Epstein would tell Redacted, quote unquote, "you know what I like," which she took to mean underage petite girls. Epstein would occasionally indicate his displeasure with Redacted for bringing a particular girl, including expressing to Redacted that he did not like dark skinned girls. Later on, as Redacted grew older and knew fewer young girls to bring, she brought older girls, which Epstein expressed displeasure about. Redacted recalls at least one occasion when she saw a girl show Epstein an ID to prove she was under 18. Wow. They didn't check her ID to make sure she was old enough. They checked her ID to make sure she was young enough. Disgusting. Um, okay. During interviews okay, so this name is blacked out right here, first of all, number 2. During interviews conducted between March and July, Redacted described how she was recruited to provide Epstein with SEX massages at his Palm Beach residence when she was approximately 14 years old. Redacted estimates that she herself performed more than 10 actualized massages that she also recruited approximately 20 to 30 girls who were similarly ABUSED by Epstein in Florida. Can you imagine how many girls there are? 20 to 30 by one girl. And he had a lot of them, a lot of recruiters. When Redacted first encountered Epstein, she was a high school dropout, living away from home and supporting herself financially. She recalls being recruited by a young girl named Redacted at a party who told Redacted and her friend Redacted that they could make $200 by giving a massage to an older man. Redacted agreed to go to Epstein's Palm Beach residence, and she ultimately participated in at least 10 massages, which became increasingly actual over time. She recalled that Epstein would instruct her to pinch his nipples and that she was often instructed to take her clothes off and perform the massage while nude. During the massages, Epstein would touch her with a toy or his hand. She recounted that Epstein would frequently push things further to see how far he could go. On at least one occasion, Epstein brought another woman, Redacted, into a massage with Redacted. During this encounter, Redacted, who was an adult at the time, engaged in SEX acts with Redacted at Epstein's direction. I wonder who that was. Ghislaine Maxwell. Why would they retract her name here if it's not retracted in the rest of the document? During this encounter, Redacted, who was an adult at the time. Side note, a message slip recovered from a trash pull from Epstein's Palm Beach residence during the first Florida investigation included a message from Redacted. The phone number associated with that message appears on toll records for one of Redacted's friends from the same period. Huh. A lot of people want to argue and debate, well, they got paid. They got paid to do this. Well, first of all, they're minors. They don't know what they're doing. They're still kids. So sure, yeah, they got paid. Second of all, most of these young females came from a bad home life. They were vulnerable. And so that's how they picked them out and were able to control them. So I'm very much against when people say that. It kind of pisses me off a little bit because it's like, okay, well, common sense, you know. Um, let's move on. That's crazy. Epstein asked Redacted to bring other girls for massages, which she did. Initially, Epstein asked her to bring a friend and told her he would pay her to bring other girls. Later, after a few experiences of Redacted bringing victims who balked at the SEX nature of the massages, Epstein told her not to bring girls unless they knew what to expect. Redacted understood this to mean she should warn girls to expect they would need to take their clothes off and that Epstein would touch them and master, you know what? She then conveyed as much in recruiting new victims. Redacted estimates that over the course of several years, she recruited approximately 20 to 30 girls for Epstein, all who were approximately 15 to 20 years old. She believes that most of the girls she recruited were minors. Epstein would occasionally indicate to Redacted which girls he liked and which girls he disliked, and she noticed he preferred the younger minors she brought and that he preferred petite blonde girls, which we have seen a lot of in the photos. Usually coordinated Redacted usually coordinated these appointments with Redacted or Redacted. Specifically recalls that Redacted would occasionally call Redacted and say that she was in New York, that Epstein would be arriving in Florida soon, and that she wanted to know if Redacted could quote unquote work when he arrived. Redacted also recalled Redacted personally taking her to the massage room on some occasions where she would set up the massage table. Redacted also recalls Redacted paying her after some of these encounters. I bet it's Ghislaine or Leslie, right? When Redacted first met Epstein, she told him she was 18 because her friend had told her to lie about her age. In truth, she was approximately 14 or 15 at the time and was wearing braces, and recalls that it would have been obvious that she was very young. Initially, Redacted similarly told other girls she brought to Epstein to say they were older because her friend had given her that instruction. Over time, however, based on her observation of the girls that Epstein seemed to prefer, and the sheer number of minors she brought to the house without issue, Redacted came to believe that Epstein wanted younger girls and did not care if the girls told him their true ages. For this reason, Redacted stopped telling the girls she recruited to lie about their ages. She stated that the girls she recruited looked very young, and she believes it would have been obvious to anyone that they were underage. Let's read the footnote. So 4 and 5. So it says message pads were recovered. Okay, the messages appear from his trash bin. The messages appear to refer to scheduling appointments and recruiting girls. Quote unquote, she has a female friend for you. Please call back as soon as possible. Additionally, these message pads include messages with names of individuals that Redacted identified as other victims. Contemporaneous phone records reflect numerous calls between Redacted and Redacted. Sick. I'm surprised she's locked up. She probably isn't. I don't think she is. There is a new video with Maxwell look alike. That's not her. She's not in prison. She's not. Yeah, I don't think she's. I don't think that looks like her in that video. We'll cover it. When Florida investigators became when the Florida investigations became public after Redacted had stopped visiting Epstein, she recalls having a phone conversation with Redacted in which Redacted stated in substance that Redacted would be taken care of if she didn't say anything. Yeah, taken care of, like, financially. Why redact all this stuff? Like, really? You already gave us a document and it's bad enough. On August 27th, 2019, we met with Redacted in New York. And then this whole paragraph is redacted. It moves to number 3, Redacted. During prior interviews conducted between April and July 2019, Redacted described how between approximately Redacted, she went to Epstein's Florida residence approximately 20 times to participate in these massages, receiving payments of 200 for each visit. Redacted recalled that she told Epstein her true age which was 17. And then there's 2 sentences that are redacted. Specifically, Redacted explained that she would typically deposit cash from Epstein in her bank account right away. Redacted provided a notebook in which she noted deposits she made. Based on her dates of deposits, it appears the abuse began in approximately redacted weeks past her 16th birthday. The records also appear to show that the cash payments from Epstein continued through Redacted several months before her 18th birthday. So like 2 years. Similar to other victims, Redacted was recruited by a high school friend who told her she could make money by giving a massage. She recalls Epstein telling her that they could travel together after she turned 18, and that once she turned 18, he would be able to help her with a modeling career. She ultimately stopped going to Epstein's residence because she felt disgusted by her interactions with him. Oh my gosh. They'll never release all just enough to keep people thinking they know. I know. It's So ridiculous. Redacted generally scheduled the massages through Redacted. Redacted recalled that Redacted would sometimes call from New York to schedule massages in advance of Jepstein's Jeffrey Epstein's arrival in Florida. We should call him that. No, I like Eggstein better. And Redacted, how about freaking disgusting? Wow, I know, Vanjie, I know. Wow, he's right. It's horrifying. To schedule massages in advance of Epstein's arrival in Florida, and Redacted specifically recalls Redacted mentioning on calls that Redacted was in New York at the time. And there's a footnote, number 6. Let's read it. Contemporaneous phone records reflect numerous contacts between Redacted and Redacted. A comparison of call records against logs of Epstein's flights on his private jets reflect several sets of calls during times when Redacted appears to have been in New York City with Epstein. For example, on Redacted had 3 calls spread throughout the afternoon. Later that night, flight records reflect that Redacted and Epstein flew from Redacted to West Palm Beach. He would fly them out like that same day. Redacted also recalled Redacted personally taking her to the massage room on some occasions. Redacted specifically recalled telling Redacted that she was in high school and could not provide massages at certain times due to school conflicts. She also reported that Epstein asked her to bring girls back who looked like her, which she took to mean blonde girls her age. Redacted brought 2 17-year-old girls to Epstein's house for massages, for which Redacted was also paid. Redacted has reported that the massages became increasingly sex over time and included Epstein touching her and using a toy, including under her garments. She recalled that Epstein asked her for intercourse, but she refused. This is wild. Let's rename him with many new names. Okay, let's do that. On August 27th, 2019, we met with Redacted in New York. 2 sentences are redacted. Always at the end of the statements. Number 4, name is redacted. We interviewed Redacted on 3 occasions. First on September 19th, 2019. Redacted was interviewed in Redacted. During this interview, Redacted described how she met Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and described in general terms how her relationship with them evolved. She did not want to discuss specific incidents of SA in details during this interview. Wow. In Redacted, when Redacted was about 13 years old, Redacted, Maxwell, and Epstein approached her while she was sitting outside a picnic table with her friends. Let's read the footnote number 7. And would you look at that? The footnote is redacted. Redacted worked as Maxwell's assistant. Let's look at who her assistant was. That's crazy. That whole footnote is. Who was Ghislaine Maxwell's assistant during? Kimberly Espinoza. Former assistant tells jury she looked up to her. Kimberly Espinoza, Maxwell's first defense witness, who worked from her from 1996 until 2002, says Jeffrey Epstein was a giver. You're sick. A giver. She had fun working for the British socialite. I learned a lot from her. That's cool. Did you learn how to grape girls? Oh, yeah, that's good. I mean, she could have probably had more than one too, right? But that's the one mentioned. Yeah. Okay, let's get back to this. Epstein told Redacted that he gives scholarships and asked Redacted about her background. When Redacted told her that she lived Redacted, Epstein asked her for her phone number so they could connect. About 6 weeks later, after Redacted had returned home, Redacted had turned 14. Someone called her from Epstein's office asking Redacted to have tea with Epstein. They accepted the invitation, and both Redacted had tea with Epstein at his Palm Beach residence, during which he explained that he likes to mentor and give scholarships. There's a footnote number 8, also redacted. So 7, 8, and 9, all the footnotes are redacted. Pathetic. Is this for Michigan Music Camp? My parents told me they used to take me there. I wonder how old she was when she started working for them. Who? The assistant? Um, Maybe it says in this. Oh no, it doesn't. It just says from 1996 until 2002. I assume young, you know? This is from, I don't know what you mean pizza by that. Well, in today's world, it's hard to tell the young girls look older these days. Yeah, it is. They do. Right? Yeah. What did I say her name was? Let's see. Let's find out. How old, let's ask AI, was Kimberly Espinoza when she worked for Ghislaine Ho. Ghislaine Ho. I can't stand Ghislaine. Oh yeah. Good question, Tippy. Kimberly Espinoza was roughly in her late teens to mid 20s when she got employed by Jeffrey Epstein's New York office. So she was young too. But they had to be at least, oh, yeah, young, young. She started young with her as an assistant too. After that meeting, Hey Wilson, good to see you. After that meeting, Redacted began spending more time with Epstein and Maxwell. And between approximately Redacted, Maxwell or an assistant would regularly call Redacted's house phone to invite her to visit with Epstein. Redacted recalls Epstein having a number of different assistants, including Leslie Groff and Redacted. When she was still 14 years old, Redacted traveled to New York to visit with Epstein and Maxwell. During that trip, Epstein and Maxwell took Redacted shopping and picked out clothing for her, including white underwear. Redacted does not recall any SEX contact occurring until after that trip to New York. After that trip, Redacted frequently went to Epstein's Palm Beach residence. While there, Epstein would have Redacted rub his feet, and he often gave her cash, which he claimed was for her to use for voice lessons. I know. Sorry that they use Redacted so much, but you know how it is. And I'm over here having to meet YouTube policies. So it's a shit show from both ends. It's really a violation of our First Amendment, right? Because, like, if it's in this document, why can't we say it without taking a hit, you know? Anyways, let's continue. Epstein first essayed Redacted when she was 14 years old at his Palm Beach residence. The two were discussing Redacted, desire to be redacted, and Epstein told Redacted that she needed to be comfortable in her underwear. Epstein then pulled his pants down, pulled Redacted into his lap, and began master. You know the rest. Epstein told Redacted a photographer might do this to her. So she needed to be prepared. What? So his photographer friend, whoever it was also going to essay her, and he was preparing her for that. After that first incident, oh yeah, guys, sorry, trigger warning, you already know. It's the Epstein files. This is such grooming. It's so bad, and the way he picks them out too. Young girls who don't have a good home life, who need money. Yeah. Um, after that first incident, Epstein increasingly essayed After that first incident, Epstein increasingly essayed her. After a few months of essay redacted on his own, Epstein began essaying her with Maxwell present. Ugh, she's such a monster. I can't. No, we are yeah, we've been they've it's been you at the beginning it started with that price. He was only giving them like 200 to $300, I think. Maxwell's disgusting. Eventually, Epstein also had other young girls or women participate in these acts with Redacted. Redacted could not recall the names of all the other females, but she vaguely remembers meeting Redacted once. Huh. I wonder what female celebrity that was. She also recalled Epstein's assistant, Redacted, being involved in sexual contact. Leslie Groff, probably. Many of these instances occurred in the context of massages during which Redacted would be present when other girls would provide massages to Epstein. For the next approximately 2 years, Epstein continued essaying Redacted by, amongst other things, fondling her you know what and using toys. During that period, Epstein also photographed Redacted wearing only undergarments. Redacted recalled traveling to New York and Mexico, both with Epstein and Maxwell during this period. She indicated that both Epstein and Maxwell participated in these encounters with her during this period, but she was not at that point prepared to go into more detail regarding the specifics of the contact. Redacted recalled that either Groff or Maxwell would arrange for her to travel. The footnote is 10. So it says multiple photographs of Redacted were recovered from Epstein's Palm Beach residence during the first Florida investigations. Well, that's nice. Would you mind giving us the document number? Because there's thousands and thousands and millions of photos in girls in their underwear. So thank you for the help, really. Um, when Redacted was a senior in high school, Epstein paid for her to move to Redacted. He continued essaying her there and eventually raped her in his New York residence. Redacted recalled meeting famous friends of Epstein's, including Prince Andrew, but had never had any sex encounters with any of Epstein's friends. Redacted remained in contact with Epstein until Redacted when she was 21 years old. Whoa. So, two things we need to talk about there. Disgusting Prince Andrew. So, from 13 to what did I just say? 21 years old. She was like under Epstein's control. Wow. And also, like, let's talk about Prince Andrew because he recently was arrested, which I was really happy about. And then when I heard they let him out the same day, I'm just like, great, of course. What did I expect? But at least they're looking into him and they seized his tech devices. And, you know, I don't think that he was arrested necessarily for essaying, but it was related to the Epstein files. So let's just hope that he's done with. But, also, like, he's old, so they also only released 2% of Epstein files that they have. I know I'm dying for the rest. Hey, old days. With what we do know thus far, Prince Andrew is a dog. Oh, he's more than a dog. Um, Second, on November 14th, 2019, Redacted was re-interviewed in Redacted. During this interview, she clarified her memory of the timing of her interactions with Epstein and Maxwell. She recalled Redacted when she was 13 years old, shortly before she turned 14. Redacted. She recalled first traveling on Epstein's private jet plane when she was 14 years old when she traveled to New York. Epstein first engaged in sex contact with Redacted when she was 14 years old. She began her senior year in New York in Redacted, so she moved to New York in Redacted when she was about 17 years old, then began attending school in New York in the fall after turning in in the fall after turning 18 years old. Given that timing, she believes she may have been 18 when Epstein raped her in New York. Redacted recalled traveling to New Mexico with Epstein approximately 3 times. Maxwell was present for each of those trips. She went more frequently to New York, but Maxwell was not around as often during the New York trips because Epstein and Maxwell did not live in the same residence in New York. Redacted could not recall whether Maxwell would call her to make appointments to see Epstein while in New York. She generally recalled assistants calling to invite her to see Epstein. She recalls that Maxwell was much more present when she first met Epstein, and that Maxwell made traveling arrangements for her during her earlier trips with Epstein. She also recalled at least one incident of SA in New York when she was a minor, during which Maxwell was present, but she explained that Maxwell was present for more instances of this SA in Florida. She did not wish to discuss the details of the incidents of abuse during this meeting. Third, on December 17th, 2019, Redacted was interviewed for a third time in Redacted. And then this whole sentence is redacted. She recalled that when she was still living in Redacted, before she moved to Redacted when she was 17 years old, she would speak with Maxwell on the phone about plans to travel to Epstein. She also recalled flying on Epstein's private jet with Maxwell. When asked to describe specific instances of SA before she moved to Redacted, she described SA ranging from Epstein master in her presence to Epstein touching her with toys and Epstein engaging in oral, with her to Epstein raping her. When asked which specific acts Maxwell was physically present for, Redacted stated that she was not entirely sure. She could only specifically recall instances in which Maxwell was in the room while Epstein master and directed Redacted to touch his NIPPLES. She could not recall specifically whether Maxwell was present when Epstein touched Redacted private area or engaged in other SEX contact with her. Redacted did not recall Maxwell ever touching her during an instance of the SA with Epstein. And then there's 3 sentences that are redacted. If I ever have kids, I hope we have a good enough relationship they'd speak up to any challenges, especially shit like this. Yeah, I think that's a good thing to say, Wilson. I think that's true. It's good. I think it's important that your kids are trusty enough to go to you about these things. Pizza says, "Oh, this document is from 2017." Yes, the document is from December 2019. Number 5, Redacted. We have interviewed Redacted on 3 occasions. First, on August 27th, 2019, met with us in New York. During that interview, Redacted described meeting Ghislaine Maxwell. Redacted lived at that time when Redacted was about 17 years old. Maxwell talked about her boyfriend, Jeffrey, and how much he was going to like Redacted. That's sick. One day when Epstein was redacted, Maxwell invited her to come to Maxwell's residence when she was introduced to Epstein. During that first meeting, Maxwell told her that Epstein needed a massage every day and asked her to give Epstein a massage. Maxwell then brought her up to the bedroom where Epstein was in a robe. While Maxwell waited outside the room, Epstein removed the robe and got onto the bed. Redacted then massaged him. During the massage, Epstein rolled over, touched Redacted, and put her hand on his you-know-what. After that first essay, Maxwell repeatedly called her, who was still 17, and invited her to see Epstein at Maxwell's residence. During these visits, Epstein engaged in contact with her. At this time, she was not in school, but still lived with Redacted. So there's a footnote there. Oh, number 11, and look at that. It's Redacted again. I wonder who she lived with. Redacted is confident Maxwell knew her age because Maxwell got her an expensive gift for her 18th birthday. Eventually, Maxwell and Epstein invited her over to travel with them to Palm Beach, Paris, the Virgin Islands, and New York. Every time she traveled with Epstein, he engaged in sex with her. This included massages during which Epstein used a, you know what, to her, you know what. Redacted recalled times that she resisted Epstein's advances, and Maxwell encouraged her to do what he wanted, saying things like, "Don't be silly," to minimize the conduct. On one occasion, Maxwell encouraged her to wear a schoolgirl uniform for Epstein. When Redacted resisted, Maxwell responded, quote unquote, "Don't be so frigid." On one occasion, Maxwell asked her if she knew someone who could give Epstein a BJ because Maxwell did not feel like doing it that day. Wow. So she would avoid being with disgusting Epstein, but have a minor doing her what she should be doing. Maxwell also made comments about Epstein's preferences, noting that he preferred younger looking females and wanted to constantly have sex. Redacted understood that Maxwell was Epstein's girlfriend, but she came to understand that Maxwell allowed Epstein to engage in these contacts with other people as long as it did not include intercourse. Nevertheless, Epstein raped her on multiple occasions, and he told her not to tell Maxwell about this because it violated their understanding. Maxwell also asked Redacted to bring other girls to engage in sex with Epstein and repeatedly asked her to engage in the acts with Epstein. Maxwell continued to ask her to engage in these massages with Epstein into her 20s. Over the years, Leslie Groff would contact Redacted to invite her to meet Epstein and would make her travel arrangements. Was Leslie Groff ever arrested? Because that bitch needs to be arrested too. I don't think so. Ew. Arrest Leslie Groff. Give her the death penalty. Same with Ghislaine Maxwell. I think they all should get the death penalty. From 2021. Okay, we already know that. Where is she? Oh, did she go to prison? Oh, she's never been criminally charged. That's nice. That's good. Second, on September 19th, 2019, Redacted met with us in New York. During this interview, she then described meeting Maxwell when she was 17 years old. Maxwell then introduced Redacted to Epstein during that first meeting. Maxwell encouraged her to give Epstein a full body massage. Maxwell then waited outside the room while she gave Epstein a massage, during which Epstein put her hand on his you know what. After the massage was over, Maxwell asked how it went, whether she had fun, and whether Epstein liked it. Maxwell then paid her for the massage. When she turned 18, Maxwell gave her a gift with a card signed by both Epstein and Maxwell. She also recalled Maxwell telling someone else at a later date that Maxwell met Redacted when she was 17 years old. Redacted was not certain whether she began traveling with Epstein and Maxwell before or after her 18th birthday. After she was 18 or 19 years old, she recalls Maxwell saying she was getting too old to have a child with Epstein. Maxwell also told Redacted that Epstein needed sex 3 to 4 times a day. Too old to have a child, and she was 19. Are you kidding me? They're saying someone spotted her in Canada. Yeah, I saw that. They all need to be arrested. Sounds like Maxwell knew all along. Yeah, I know. She did. She's a sick monster. Okay, third, on December the 15th, 2019, we met with, okay, this paragraph is always redacted at the end of the statement. They redact like 3 sentences. She could not recall whether she first traveled with Epstein and Maxwell when she was 17 or 18. She was certain, however, that she was 17 years old during at least the first 2 instances when Epstein essayed her. Redacted. Both instances occurred at Maxwell's residence. She had previously described the first instance, which involved Maxwell encouraging her to provide a massage to Epstein, waiting outside the bedroom door while Redacted massaged Epstein, and Epstein first essayed her. Sometimes Sometime after leaving Maxwell's residence following that first incident of the essay, she received a call from Maxwell. On the call, Maxwell said that she was a clever girl and that Jeffrey was very impressed. So Maxwell wanted to schedule a return visit. She agreed, and sometime later, she returned to Maxwell's London residence. When Redacted arrived, Maxwell told her in substance that Maxwell was relieved that she was there because otherwise it falls on her, which she understood to mean that Maxwell had to provide Epstein with massages if no one else was available. After this conversation, Maxwell walked Redacted to a bedroom and opened the door. Inside the room, Epstein was fully nude and standing facing Maxwell and Redacted. Maxwell said, "I'll leave you to it," and left. Redacted did not want to discuss the details of the essay that occurred during the second massage at this time. After the massage, Maxwell asked if Redacted had a nice time and changed the subject to chat about Redacted's upcoming plans. Number 6, her name is Redacted. On September 28th, 2019, she was interviewed in New York, explained at the outset of the interview that her recollection had been refreshed by reviewing the journal she kept while in high school, which we are in the process of obtaining. She said she met Epstein in Redacted and worked in some capacity for Epstein. Between Redacted, when she was 16 years old, and a junior in high school, Redacted, she took 2 trips to meet with him. First, Redacted told Redacted that Epstein was interested in meeting her and helping her with college. See what I mean? Like, he groomed them and then offered them things that they didn't have available at their disposal. And that came from, probably very little money or a bad home life. Epstein then paid for her to fly out Redacted to New York. While in New York, she stayed Redacted. She saw Epstein twice during the New York trip. During the first meeting, Epstein bought Redacted tickets to see Phantom of the Opera and met with them before the show at the New York residence. During that meeting, Epstein asked her about her life and offered to help her with her education. During the second meeting, Epstein took her to see the movie 12 Monkeys. What is that? Have you guys seen that? Oh, it's a 1995 film. I've never seen that. Huh. I'm curious. I might want to watch it now. Epstein sat between Redacted during the movie and touched Redacted inappropriately throughout the movie. In particular, Epstein touched her leg, stroked her arm, and held her hand. Ew. Yeah, weird movie. But there was thousands of girls, but like 15 came forward or something like that. It is a weird movie. What is it about? It looks weird. Oh yeah, Bruce Willis says, "Oh, he is in there." Okay, I'll check it out. I'm just curious what kind of sick, freakish things this man liked. Yeah. Yeah, Abby. Okay, I'll check it out. Second, Redacted flew alone to New Mexico, where she spent a weekend with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Okay, so she visited Zorro Ranch. Redacted recalls that Redacted spoke with Epstein on the phone about this trip. Redacted all knew that Maxwell would be on the trip, which made them feel more comfortable about Redacted traveling alone, except she's a monster. Oh, look, the footnote is also Redacted, number 12. Epstein paid for her to fly to New Mexico and arranged for a driver to take her to Epstein's New Mexico ranch. Once at the ranch, she spent time with Maxwell, who expressed interest in Redacted's background and life. She specifically remembers telling Maxwell that she was a junior in high school because they discussed her homework, her plans for the upcoming senior year, and her desire to attend college. That's so messed up. During this trip to New Mexico, she recalls several instances of conduct that made her feel uncomfortable. First, Maxwell encouraged her to massage Epstein's feet with her and showed her how he liked to have his feet rubbed. Second, she went to the movies with Epstein and Maxwell to see Primal Fear. And outside the theater, Maxwell pulled down Epstein's sweatpants a bit in a joking manner. During the movie, Epstein again held her hand and stroked her arm, but he did not appear to be trying to hide this contact from Maxwell. Third, Maxwell insisted on giving her a massage during which she was either partially or fully. The massage took place in a room with an open door leading to the next room where Epstein was located, such that Epstein may be able to observe, redacted. During the massage, Maxwell rubbed her chest, touching the sides of her. Finally, one morning, Epstein came into the room, got into bed with her, and said he wanted to cuddle. She said she needed to go to the bathroom and left the room. She does not recall having any other contact with Epstein or Maxwell after the New Mexico trip. Female number 7. She was interviewed on July 31st, 2019, August 27th, and November 21st in New York. First, during the July 31st, 2019 interview, Redacted said that when she was 17 years old, Redacted Epstein essayed her in New Mexico, Florida, and Paris. Redacted first met Epstein through Redacted, who worked as masseuses for Epstein and introduced Epstein as someone who could help her. Redacted was on the verge of homelessness and had nowhere else to go. See what I mean? Why? Yeah, that's so sad. Redacted first introduced Redacted to Epstein at a hotel. During that first meeting, Epstein expressed interest in her background and offered to pay for her to travel and attend school. Can you imagine that? Like, you're a young girl, you have nowhere to live, and then someone decides to help you with all of it and pay for your school. After that first meeting, Epstein invited her to his home in New Mexico. During that first trip, Epstein asked her to give him a massage. She was present, Redacted was present in the massage room, and both Redacted and Redacted were in swimsuits. At first, Epstein asked her to remove her top and begin fondling Redacted. Redacted froze as Epstein turned to her and began to fondle her, Redacted. During this first interview, Redacted was too distressed to describe any other details regarding the essay. She explained, however, that after that first incident, when she was still 17, she traveled with Epstein to other residences where he essayed her. In particular, she recalled during this interview that Epstein assaulted her in New Mexico, Florida, and Paris on 4 occasions when she was 17. 2 of the essays involved Epstein sneaking into a room at night and graping her. Redacted asked not to discuss the details of those during this interview. In Redacted, Epstein paid for her to travel to Redacted for school. In Redacted, turned 18, and after turning 18, she continued to spend time with Epstein for approximately 2 more years. During that 2-year period, Epstein paid for her to attend school for 3 months long period. Side note 15, it says, we have identified message pads recovered during the first Florida investigation referencing instances in which Redacted called for Epstein during this period. She was, in fact, assaulted in New Mexico, New York, Florida, Virgin Islands when she was 17. Although Epstein engaged in this with her in other locations, including Paris, she was 18 years old when those incidents took place. When she was not in school, Redacted either traveled with Epstein or resided at an apartment he provided for her in New York. During that same period, Epstein continued to engage in this contact with her. Eventually, the stress of continued essay led her to develop an eating disorder. When she confided in Epstein about her eating disorder, he paid for her to fly to Arizona and then essentially disowned her, cutting off contact. Wow. That is really sad. While traveling with Epstein, she became familiar with people in his world, including Redacted, Redacted, and Redacted, Leslie Groff, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Jean-Luc Brunel. Redacted provided us with copies of photographs she still had from her time with Epstein, including photographs featuring Epstein. Redacted, 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 Maxwell, and Brunel. I bet she's in those pictures that we've seen of them in at the island, remember? Um, when they were like dressed in the fancy clothes at the dinner. She must have been on that trip. Um, Redacted recalled that Redacted was approximately 5 years older than Redacted and acted as Epstein's assistant. It's probably Leslie Groff. In that capacity, Redacted arranged scheduling for Epstein's flights on his private jet and coordinated with his pilots and house staff to arrange for Epstein's travel. As described above, she was present when Epstein essayed Redacted in a massage room at Epstein's New Mexico residence. She could not recall, however, whether she expressly discussed her age with Redacted. During this first interview, she was too distressed to discuss instances of essay in detail, but she indicated that Redacted was present for and participated in 2 of the assaults before Redacted turned 18 and believed that during these assaults, Redacted touched Redacted. She also recalls that Redacted took photographs of her while at Epstein's Virgin Islands residence. Although Redacted could not be completely sure, she believed that those photographs were taken when she was 17 years old. Redacted did not recall whether she was clothed in the photos or if anyone else was in the photos. Let's read the footnote 16. As described below, during an interview, she recalls that she only recalled one instance of essay when she's a minor for which Redacted was present. She also clarified that she does not have a memory of Redacted touching her during any instances. When executing a search warrant at Epstein's New York residence, the FBI recovered multiple photos in which she was nude or partially nude and appears to be in a tropical location. So that was on the island. She also recalled that Redacted took photographs of her while at Epstein's Virgin Island residence, although Redacted could not be completely. Oh, I already read that. Sorry. As Redacted traveled with Epstein, Redacted, she noticed a lot of girls coming and going to and from Epstein's residence in New York and Palm Beach. She recalled that these girls would stay for about an hour or so. They appeared young, but she did not know whether any of them were under the age of 18. She also recalled Redacted saying generally that the girls were there to see Epstein. Redacted recalled that Redacted became Epstein's girlfriend. Redacted met Redacted after returning from her first trip. Redacted knows that Redacted was 18 years old when they met. For about 2 years, Redacted was Redacted's roommate when they traveled with Epstein, and they shared an apartment in Redacted, New York. As a result, the two became good friends. Redacted referred to herself as Epstein's girlfriend, but in general, she and Redacted did not discuss the details of their activity with Epstein. I wonder if this is that Shuliak girl, the dentist. It's not Maxwell because her name wouldn't be redacted. Her name's not redacted in these files. Or maybe it is. I don't know. I don't trust them. Redacted understood Ghislaine Maxwell to be Epstein's partner. Oh, okay, there we go. Who also handled Oh, okay. So it was somebody different. Epstein's girlfriend and partner are two different things. Ghislaine was a partner who also handled scheduling with Redacted. Her impression was that Maxwell's relationship with Epstein was merely focused on business and personal matters. She explained that Leslie Groff arranged payments for Redacted's schooling and also coordinated her commercial flights. Redacted did not see Groff as often as she saw Redacted and Maxwell because Groff did not travel with Epstein. There it is. So Leslie Groff arranged. She saw Ghislaine. So there it was Karina, maybe the Shuliak girl or whoever else his quote unquote girlfriend was. Second, during the Let me start over. Second, during the August 27th, 2019 interview, she provided additional details regarding her interactions with other people and Epstein's circle during her time traveling with Epstein. First, she explained that she understood Redacted to be Epstein's assistant. Redacted's responsibility included shopping, traveling arrangements, and coordinating with Epstein's pilots. During the time she was traveling with Epstein, Redacted went to wherever Epstein did. During this same period, when Epstein was in New York, Redacted residing in the same building. Redacted, as Redacted did, though in different apartment. When in New York, she would sometimes call Redacted and instruct her to come to Epstein's New York residence. Redacted again indicated that Redacted was present for the first time Epstein assaulted her and was somehow involved in the second time that it happened, but she was not emotionally prepared to describe the details of this during the interview. Redacted does not recall speaking explicitly with Redacted about her age, but she does recall that Redacted was present with Epstein and others for her 19th and 20th birthdays. When asked who else attended those birthdays, she recalled that Epstein and Redacted were present as well. Yeah, remember they were celebrating on hey La Karma, good to see you. They were celebrating on the island. Remember the cake? Remember that cake of the breast and stuff? Yeah, they said Ghislaine isn't. So who were his girlfriends other than what's her name? Car Car Carnia Karina Shuliak was Epstein's last partner. I wonder if that's her. Um, I'm assuming it had to be her. Unless there's someone else I can't think of, but I thought it was mainly her and Ghislaine that were like his his girls. When asked who else she recalled being associated with Epstein, Redacted mentioned that a female named Redacted, whose last name Redacted could not recall, was present during an instance when Epstein essayed her in the Virgin Islands. Redacted recalled that Redacted was older than her. Again, though Redacted was not emotionally prepared to describe the details of that assault, Redacted recalled that Leslie Groff booked Redacted's travel for school. She also recalled that Ghislaine Maxwell often traveled with Epstein and would sleep in Epstein's room when they traveled. More generally, Redacted explained that she did not discuss Epstein's essay with anyone, including Redacted, Maxwell, Groff, and Redacted, because she felt that it was taboo and not something she should mention. Redacted recalled two instances when Epstein asked her to provide massages to other men, both of which took place after she turned 18. First, Redacted massage Gene, Luke Brunel. Ew. But the massage did not involve any sex contact. Second, when she was at Epstein's Paris residence, Epstein introduced her to massage Harvey Weinstein here. When Redacted went into the massage room, Weinstein directed her to remove her shirt. Redacted refused, and in response, Weinstein became angry and told Redacted to tell Redacted or Weinstein's assistant Bonnie to come instead. Redacted left and told Epstein what happened. Epstein apologized to Redacted for putting her in that position. Ew. Harvey Weinstein, this pervert. Ew, he grosses me out. He's incarcerated at Rikers Island right now. He's still alive? That's unfortunate. Truly. Harvey Weinstein just waiting for Diddy to pop up next. Oh yeah, he's in these too, probably. I haven't come across it yet, but I'm sure I will in the millions of files we're going through. Third, during the November 21st, 2019, I know Jay-Z, we read the one where Jay-Z was involved. During Third, during the November 21st, 2019 interview, she provided additional details regarding certain instances of SA and clarified her memories of her interactions with Epstein before turning 18. She recalled that when she was 17 years old, Redacted introduced her to a man named Joseph Alvarez, aka Gypsy, Redacted, who taught both sisters how to give massages. I think this is the first time I hear this name. I have to sneeze. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. Okay, so this is who he is. I'll save this picture for the end. Um, Joseph Daniel, is that what they said on here? Joseph Daniel Alvarez, yeah. He's in pictures with Trump. He was always trying to convince people for massages. He lived in La Quinta, California. What? I'm gonna look into this because apparently he works around children. I hope that's not still accurate. Oh, this post is from 18 days ago. So, yuck. Ew, he needs to be stopped if he does. Okay, so I'll show you guys a picture of Joseph in a second. So Joseph Alvarez, who taught both sisters how to give massages. So he's like a massage teacher. Disgusting. Alvarez then introduced Redacted to Epstein and she began traveling with him. Later, Redacted introduced Redacted to Epstein. That first meeting took place at a hotel, Redacted, where she met both Epstein and Maxwell. During that meeting, she massaged Epstein's feet while he asked her about her life and background. She told him she wanted to go back to school, and Epstein offered to pay for her to attend school. Following that meeting, Epstein called Redacted on multiple occasions, sometimes with Leslie Groff connecting the calls. Eventually, Epstein committed to paying for Redacted to attend school. In response, Redacted gave up the room in the apartment where she was living, gave notice to her job, and prepared to travel. Redacted. A few weeks before she left, Redacted, Epstein invited her to New Mexico and she accepted the invitation. Redacted then traveled to Epstein's New Mexico residence in Redacted when she was still 17 years old. She recalls Epstein, Maxwell, and Redacted and other females whose names she does not remember being at the residence when she arrived. She remained at the New Mexico residence for a couple days before returning to Redacted. Early on in the visit, Maxwell took her horseback riding and Redacted told Maxwell about her life and background. Although Redacted does not specifically recall saying her age, she does believe Maxwell would have strong indications of her age based on that conversation. Later during that same trip, she went swimming in the pool with Redacted. As they got out of the pool in their swimsuits, Epstein called him over to give him a massage in a nearby massage room. Once inside the massage room, Epstein removed her top, began master and touched Redacted's breast, and Epstein then touched Redacted froze and began crying, but Epstein continued to touch her and master until he Redacted recalled that Redacted seemed at ease, although this was as though this was a normal occurrence. Redacted never spoke about the incident with Redacted. Ugh. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible. After she returned, Redacted, Epstein called her multiple times, both times to discuss her plans to attend school and invite her on another trip. She agreed to go on another trip with Epstein, Redacted, when she was still 17. In or around Redacted, she flew Redacted to New York, where she visited Epstein at his New York residence. Once there, Epstein brought Redacted alone into the dining room where he reached down her pants and fondled her. From New York, Redacted flew with Epstein and Maxwell and Redacted and another female to Palm Beach, where the group stayed at Epstein's Palm Beach residence for a few days. One of the nights in Palm Beach, Epstein came into the room where Redacted was sleeping and raped her. The same group then flew from Palm Beach to the Virgin Islands, where they stayed at Epstein's Virgin Island residence. One of the nights on the island, Epstein again came into the room where Redacted was sleeping and raped her. The same group then flew back to Palm Beach. From there, Redacted believes she flew back to Redacted. After that trip, Epstein paid for her to travel to Spain and approximately Redacted and attend school there. While in Spain, Redacted turned 18 in Redacted. At the end of the semester in the spring of Redacted, Epstein paid for her to fly back to the Virgin Islands and rejoin him at his Virgin Island residence. So, footnote 18 says we have identified flight records. Okay. And then footnote 19 says the metadata for some of the nude photographs of Redacted recovered in Epstein's New York residence suggests that the photos were created redacted, which would be consistent with Redacted's second trip to the Virgin Islands. Over the next approximately 2 years, Epstein periodically paid for her to travel Redacted to attend school for months at a time. When she was not attending school, she traveled with Epstein to his various residences. During the periods she was with Epstein, her understanding was that either Redacted or Maxwell scheduled the massages. She recalled thinking that the masseuses she saw were about her age, 18 or 19. Three sentences are redacted. And then we move on to girl number 8. Am I the only one that doesn't even believe that half these girls were 17? I mean, you could be right. We don't know. They were probably younger a lot of the time too. Okay. Girl number 8, redacted. On September 10th, 2019, we met Redacted with Redacted. It's all redacted, this whole paragraph. On November 4th, we interviewed her in Redacted in and around Redacted when she was approximately 16 years old. A friend of hers named Redacted asked if she wanted to make money by giving massages to a billionaire. She said yes, and Redacted connected her with a young man named Redacted. Let's look at the footnote 21. Oh, we can't. It's redacted. What young man? Interesting. She connected her with a young man named Redacted who gave Redacted a ride to Epstein's Palm Beach residence. A driver, maybe? She told Redacted to lie and say she was 18 years old. Once at the residence, Redacted met Redacted, and then Redacted brought Redacted to the massage room while she waited downstairs. Redacted then gave Epstein a massage, during which Epstein masturbated and groped Redacted's and buttocks. At the end of the massage, Epstein offered to pay Redacted if she brought other girls to engage in similar acts. During this initial meeting, she lied and said she was 18 years old and in college. She then went downstairs and gave Redacted her phone number. How they would recruit is wild like this. After that first encounter, she began bringing other girls to massage Epstein. To coordinate the massage appointments, she spoke on the phone with Redacted. Redacted continued bringing girls to Epstein's Palm Beach residence for approximately 2 more years until she was 18, and the police began investigating Epstein. In total, Redacted estimates she went to Epstein's Palm Beach residence once or twice a month. She recalled that Epstein often went weeks without coming to Florida. When Redacted brought a new girl, Epstein always paid Redacted $200 himself. Sometimes Redacted would bring girls up to the massage room, and sometimes Redacted did. Redacted would wait downstairs for about an hour until the girl came back down. Then Redacted would go up to talk with Epstein and get paid by him. She did not recall any of the girls she brought being upset after a massage, as she always warned them what to expect. Redacted only recalls dealing with Redacted and never met or spoke with Maxwell, Redacted, or Groff. Why do they keep redacting the other assistant's name or whoever it was, the girlfriend or whatever? Maybe because she was a minor or victim too. In total, Redacted brought 6 different girls to give sex massages to Epstein. All except one were minors. At one time, Redacted brought someone in her 20s, and Redacted told her not to bring her again, though he did not say why. All the girls Redacted brought were younger looking, thinner girls. Redacted told everyone she brought to say they were 18 years old. Redacted did not recall having any personal conversation with Redacted and did not know whether Redacted knew how old she or any of the girls she recruited were. She recalls that Redacted occasionally asked Redacted to bring a specific girl. Redacted recalls referring to the girls she recruited as friends to Redacted. Eventually, some of the girls Redacted brought began recruiting other girls themselves. Redacted recalled walking into a massage room with a recruit at some point and seeing Redacted and Epstein leaving the shower steam room together, which led her to believe they had an sex relationship. The police approached Redacted in 2006, after to which she never spoke with Epstein or Redacted again. Girl number 9, Redacted, of course, her name. So all of these girls he would prey upon, and then they all brought more younger girls. They preyed on the weak and vulnerable. Yeah, they did. They preyed on a lot of like homeless girls. They took rugs for fun. Yeah, probably. It is. It is Redacted. Highly favored. A lot of it is. It was the same girls. He would bring like girls to use as victims, and the same victims would then recruit more girls, and then those girls would go and recruit more girls. It was like an ongoing thing of young girls, minors, being recruited by themselves, minors. Redacted was interviewed on July 14th. Okay, that whole sentence is redacted. When she was approximately 13 or 14. Holy cow. The DOJ say the redacted all female names except Ghislaine to make it easier for them. So not all names or faces that are women or victims. They are just female, though many are victims. Yeah, I'm wondering who this girlfriend is in this document, because her name's redacted. Redact the victims, but let us know who the perverts were. Exactly. So this girl number 9, is 13 or 14 years old. Redacted, a friend of hers named Redacted, recruited her to give massages to Epstein at his Palm Beach residence. Over a period of approximately 2 years, Redacted frequently went to his residence and engaged in massage sessions with Epstein, during which he touched her body, used a toy, and master in front of her. Redacted also became a prolific recruiter and estimates that she may have brought as many as 100 underage girl to Epstein's Palm Beach residence for massages. 100. That is absolutely insane. What does the footnote say? 22. We have identified message pads regarding, one message indicates that Redacted is bringing another female to Epstein's residence. Wow. Redacted became pregnant at the age of 15. I wonder if one of the journals belongs to her that we've read. No, he didn't pay them that much. That's low. It's disgusting, but it's low. Okay, so this girl was 13 or 14, and then she got pregnant at 15. Remember that journal we read? I wonder if one of them belongs to her. She became pregnant at the age of 15, after which Epstein no longer wanted to see her, but he allowed her to continue recruiting other girls for massages. She received $200 for each massage she performed, and for each massage performed by a girl she brought to Epstein's Palm Beach residence. Yeah, Reese Crows. It's wild that any other FOIAs we get don't redact the perps ever. It's disgusting they're being protected. Wow. So after she was pregnant, he was like, bye, of course. She recalls that the first time a new girl gave Epstein a massage, Epstein would often ask Redacted to stay in the massage room with the new girl. She remembered that Redacted would sometimes bring girls up to the massage room, but Redacted would then leave before the massage began. Redacted would sometimes pay Redacted following the massages. Redacted also provided Redacted with gifts from Epstein, including a bikini and baby shower gifts when Redacted became pregnant. Redacted recalled that she primarily scheduled massages through Redacted over the phone. When scheduling an appointment for a new girl, Redacted would call and say she had someone for Epstein and would describe what the girl looked like. Occasionally, Redacted would pick Redacted up and drive her to Epstein's Palm Beach residence. Redacted recalled Redacted saying things like, "You know what Jeffrey likes." She also believed that Redacted knew Redacted was in high school, but she would not recall a specific conversation in which she told Redacted her age or that she was in high school. Redacted recalled lying and telling Epstein that she was 16 years old when they met. She also told Epstein that the girls she recruited were all 16 or older. Redacted recalled one incident, however, when Epstein was angry with her for bringing an older girl who was about 18. As a result, Redacted understood that Epstein wanted younger girls. Redacted recalled bringing girls to Epstein's residence approximately twice per week, most of whom were between the ages of 14 and 16. Redacted ultimately stopped recruiting girls to massage Epstein after she was approached by the FBI. Wow. So a lot of these victims, like, that was when it was like they had to stop because the cops were involved. Imagine having to say he's your father or the baby got taken away. Yeah, I think they used the baby at Zoa Ranch, my opinion only, for experimental purposes. During the initial Florida investigation, Redacted spoke with Epstein's attorney. Although Redacted could not recall the name of any of these attorneys, she recalled that they pressured her to lie and tell investigators that she told Epstein she was 18 years old. Oh. Epstein's attorneys pressuring her to lie. Not surprised. She recalled Epstein's lawyer suggesting that if she told the truth, her child would be taken away from her because she engaged in recruiting activities. Wow. And then they redacted that whole last sentence. How sad. Girl number 10. Redacted was interviewed September 12th, 2019 in New York. She regularly visited Epstein's Palm Beach residence from approximately Redacted when she was between 16 and 18. When she was about 16 years old and a sophomore in high school, Redacted, she was recruited by a friend named Redacted. There's a footnote 23. Let's see if it's redacted or I can see it. Redacted was interviewed during the Florida investigation and reported engaging in multiple paid massages with Epstein at his Palm Beach residence when she was a minor. She also admitted to bringing two other minor girls, including Redacted, to provide Epstein with massages. Okay, so she told the truth. Redacted explained that Redacted could make money by giving nude massages to an older man. Redacted agreed and went with her to Epstein's Palm Beach residence, where she believes she met Redacted. While Redacted waited in the kitchen, sorry, hold on. Okay. When she was about 16 years old and a sophomore in high school, Redacted said she was recruited by a friend named Redacted. Redacted explained that she could make money by giving nude massages. So she agreed and went to Epstein's Palm Beach residence where she believes she met Redacted. While she waited in the kitchen, Redacted went to the massage room where she engaged in a paid massage with Epstein. Over the ensuing months, Redacted returned to Epstein's Palm Beach residence many times to engage in these paid massages. The essay escalated to include oral, sex, and grape. Redacted stopped going to Epstein's residence, Redacted, when she was in college and the police approached her. Redacted described Epstein giving her cash and gifts, including a rental car. She also recalled that Epstein helped her with her college essays. Epstein also sent her flowers in connection with her last performance in a high school play. Redacted indicated that Epstein took multiple NUDE photographs of her in the Palm Beach residence. Ew. This is what makes him the monster that he is. I know. Such grooming and like, wow. Redacted generally described Redacted as being frequently present at the Palm Beach house. Redacted would frequently call Redacted to tell her when Epstein would be in town and to schedule massages. During at least some of these conversations, Redacted told Redacted that she was calling from New York. Redacted also recalled being paid primarily by Epstein, but sometimes by Redacted or someone named Alfredo. Remember, Alfredo is the housekeeper who died. He's the one who was gonna expose the little black book, and they killed him, in my opinion. Redacted indicated that she believes Redacted knew she was underage. However, Redacted did not recall any specific conversations or discussions of her age with Redacted, nor could she remember any discussions she had with Redacted of details of her life that would have been suggestive of age, such as high school classes or extracurricular activities. She explained, though, that she openly talked with Epstein about her taking the SATs and applying for college and would work on her college application essays at Epstein's home. Imagine your abuser is helping you with college application essays and assaulting you. She also recalled that Redacted organized drivers to pick her up from Redacted where she lived. She also recalls instances in which Redacted walked Redacted to the massage room and set up the table while there were SCX toys visible in the room. Redacted also recalled one instance in which Redacted came into the massage room when Redacted was still naked after a massage. However, Redacted did not recall any specific conversation she had with Redacted about SCX. She remembers Redacted asking her to bring other girls that looked like her over to Epstein's home. Redacted recalled seeing Maxwell at the house only a few times and did not have any substantive conversations or interactions with her. She referred to Redacted as Epstein's SEX slave and believed that Epstein had bought Redacted. Redacted told Redacted that Redacted was one of Epstein's girlfriends. When Redacted was 16 years old, Redacted engaged in SEX acts with Redacted at Epstein's direction. Bought her. Redacted told Redacted that Redacted was one of Epstein's girlfriends. So this girlfriend that's Redacted, she engaged in these acts sometimes. After the police began, obviously, but like there needs to be justice. Like these people need to be arrested. After the police began investigating Epstein in 2005, Redacted received a call from a girl named Redacted, who also went to Epstein's Palm Beach residence for massages. Redacted asked Redacted if she had spoken with law enforcement and added that Redacted would be taken care of if she did not talk, paying them to keep them quiet. Hi, abuelitas. Girl number 11, Redacted, her name. On September 18th, 2019, Redacted was interviewed in Redacted. When she was either 16 or 17, a friend of her named Redacted told Redacted she can make $200 by giving a massage in her underwear to an older man. Redacted agreed and went to Epstein's Palm Beach residence with Redacted on one occasion. When Redacted and Redacted arrived at Epstein's Palm Beach residence with Redacted on one occasion. Oh, wait. When Redacted and Redacted arrived at Epstein's Palm Beach residence, a woman named Redacted greeted her and Redacted and had them wait downstairs. At some point, Redacted said Epstein was ready. Both girls went up to the massage room. Both girls got undressed and Epstein came into the room. Both girls started massaging him, and then Epstein told Redacted to leave. Epstein then mastered and touched Redacted's genitals with a toy. At the end of the massage, Redacted went back downstairs to where Redacted was waiting. Epstein came down and paid both Redacted and Redacted. Sometime later, Redacted told Redacted that Redacted reached out to ask whether she would come back. Redacted refused, and she never saw Epstein again. Is there a footnote in here that I missed? 27. The FBI is still trying to identify this individual, her friend. And it says we have identified this individual as who participated in an interview. Girl number 12. Redacted. On October 15th, 2019, Redacted was interviewed in Redacted. She was approximately 16 years old and living in Palm Beach. Her friend Redacted invited her to give a back massage to a nice older guy for $200. Redacted agreed and went with her to Epstein's Palm Beach residence, where Redacted engaged in a massage with Epstein for about the next 2 years until she was about 18 years old. Redacted provided paid massages to Epstein approximately once per week. At some point, Epstein began bringing his girlfriend Redacted into the room during these massages to engage in these acts, with Redacted at Epstein's direction. Redacted recalled that Epstein sent her to a David Copperfield show for her 18th birthday. Remember, David Copperfield is all in the pictures we've been looking at. He's sick too. Redacted also brought one of her friends to massage Epstein, but the friends only went to Epstein's Palm Beach residence once. Imagine they think they're going to a magic show, and the magician, David Copperfield, is also a predator. Like, wow. Hey, Rebecca. Epstein's assistant, Redacted, would often call Redacted to schedule massage appointments. Although Redacted discussed her age with Epstein, she does not recall explicitly discussing her age with Redacted. Occasionally, Redacted walked Redacted to the massage room, but she was never involved in any sex contact. Either Epstein or Redacted paid Redacted after each massage. Around the time Redacted turned 18, she stopped receiving calls inviting her to massage Epstein. So it's like as soon as they hit 18, he was like done with them. Redacted was contacted by the FBI and interviewed. Redacted did not recall Redacted or anyone else connected to Epstein contacting her during that investigation. Girl number 13th. On October 16th, 2019, she was interviewed in Redacted. When she was about 15 or 16 years old and living in Florida, a girl from her high school named Redacted asked her if she wanted to give a man a massage for $200. Redacted agreed and went with Redacted to Epstein's Palm Beach residence. Once there, Epstein met Redacted in the kitchen and brought her to the massage room while Redacted waited downstairs. While in the massage room, Epstein asked Redacted to remove her clothes. Redacted then massaged Epstein while undressed. Epstein then paid Redacted and she left. When Redacted returned for a second massage, Epstein used a toy to touch her, after which he paid her $200. Over the next few months, Redacted returned to Epstein's Palm Beach residence about 10 more times to provide Epstein with paid massages. After that first massage, Redacted called Redacted to schedule each of her subsequent massages. Redacted also brought a friend of hers to massage Epstein once and paid $200 for bringing her. Redacted never told Epstein or Redacted her age, but she did recall telling Epstein that she was in high school and a cheerleader. Girl number 14. On October 16th, she was interviewed as well when she was 15 years old, basically the same way. She got recruited by giving massages, and she later agreed and went to Epstein's Palm Beach residence. Once arriving, an Asian woman directed Redacted to go up to the massage room. When they got to the room, a tall woman with short brown hair, whom Redacted now believes to be Maxwell, walked out of the shower in a towel, handed Redacted lotion, and said, "I think you'll be needing this more than me," then left. Epstein then entered in a robe, got on the massage table. Redacted began massaging Epstein. Then Redacted left, at which point Redacted removed her clothes and Epstein touched her. During the massage, Redacted told Epstein that she was 16 because Redacted told her to lie and say she was 16 when she was in fact 15 years old. After the massage, Redacted gave Redacted $200 and said that she was also paid $150. Then they left together. Redacted never returned and saw Epstein again. All this for money. Hey, Jordan. Yeah, I know, but, like, you have to think, like, what place they were in, you know? They were probably like, most of them were homeless. So, he was really not paying them that much. Hell no, $200 for that nastiness? No way. Poor girls didn't know any better. The data worse, now these girls have to deal with trauma for their life, hopefully through some type of healing. Some of them are dead. Some of them we don't know. Some of them have been murdered by Epstein, his team, and some are probably, yeah, alive somewhere, hopefully, like you said, healing. Girl 15, redacted. She was interviewed on July 2019 in Florida. She was 14 years old. Some of her friends, including Redacted, recruited her to give Epstein a massage at his Palm Beach residence, during which Epstein touched her body. Redacted recalled a lady with black hair meeting her and Redacted in Epstein's kitchen before the massage. But Redacted did not speak with the lady or learn her name. Rather, Redacted spoke exclusively with the lady. Redacted did not participate in any other massages with Epstein, but she subsequently recruited one other minor girl to give Epstein a paid massage. Girl 16. She was also interviewed on July 11th, 2019. She was also 16 years old, also recruited at the Palm Beach house. She provided Epstein with 2 massages and was essayed during both. During the first, Epstein touched Redacted's body. The second involved more extensive ABUSE essay, which Redacted did not want to describe during our interview. Redacted recalled that a petite blonde woman named Redacted, who appeared to be in her early 20s, took Redacted upstairs to the massage room before both massages. After both massages, Redacted paid Redacted $200. After the first massage, Redacted took Redacted's phone number and called her to invite her back. After the second massage, Redacted did not want to return, but Redacted called 4 or 5 times and pressured her to return. Redacted ultimately did not want to return. Girl number 17, interviewed July 12th. She was 17 years old when she was working as a model. Her friend invited her to the Palm Beach residence. She was a 19-year-old model and told Redacted was a 19-year-old model and told Redacted that she was Epstein's girlfriend. Epstein gave Redacted and Redacted cash to go shopping, and they purchased underwear together at the mall. They returned to Epstein's house, and Epstein asked Redacted to try on the underwear for him. Redacted felt as though she could not say no and complied. That same weekend, Redacted invited Redacted to come to Epstein's Palm Beach residence to receive a massage from a masseuse. She was told Epstein would not be present, so she agreed. Shortly after Redacted undressed for the massage, the masseuse left the room and Epstein entered. He insisted that Redacted flip on her back, exposing her, you know what, so that he could show her what he had learned from a chiropractor about quote unquote adjustments. Epstein then rotated her shoulders and hips, but did not touch her chest. After this experience, Redacted refused to return to the house and never spoke with Epstein again. So disturbing. These poor girls had to be so confused and terrified. They had never been subjected to crap like this. I know. I know. It really does. It's really so sad. Okay, let's see. Girl number 18. Redacted was interviewed July 12th. Also, she was 16 years old, also recruited to the Palm Beach residence. During this first massage, Redacted was in the room with Redacted. Approximately 1 month later, Redacted told Redacted that they asked for her to come back. Redacted returned for a second massage, this time by herself. During both massages, Epstein instructed Redacted to remove her clothes and used a toy while he mastered. Redacted recalled telling Epstein that she was in high school. She recalled another woman inside the house when she arrived, but she did not recall the woman's name or appearance. Number 19. Interviewed on July 13th in New York. She was approximately girl number 19. She was approximately 14 years old, and another woman befriended her outside her school. Redacted described the young woman as white and slim with mid length brown hair, but Redacted could not recall the woman's name or any identifying details. And then it says here, footnote, we have not identified her. So they don't know who that was recruiting. After Redacted and the young woman became friends, the young woman invited Redacted to Epstein's Manhattan residence. Over approximately the next year, Redacted provided Epstein with massages at the Manhattan residence, during which Epstein touched her. Redacted was paid $300 in cash following each massage. While Redacted was massaging Epstein, he asked her to go on top of him, which she did, and then he raped her despite her protest to stop. After the essay, Redacted stopped going to Epstein's residence and did not see him again. Redacted recalled that either Epstein himself or a secretary would schedule Redacted massage appointments. Redacted also recalled that the secretary would be near the entrance to the house when Redacted arrived for the massages and sometimes paid her after the massages. Redacted cannot recall the secretary's name or appearance, but she also remembered that a maid would sometimes bring her to the massage room. But again, she did not recall the name or appearance of any particular maid. They all should be held accountable. Girl number 20, she was interviewed on July 17th, 2019. She was 16 and she was recruited to the New York residence. She went to Epstein's New York residence and provided him with massages on 2 occasions. During both massages, Epstein master, touched her and used a toy. She recalled Epstein telling her, quote unquote, "You look so young." Redacted brought a 19-year-old friend to Epstein's New York residence to give Epstein a massage, after which Epstein paid her $200. Redacted recalls that she was given the phone number of a woman to call to schedule massage appointments. That same woman contacted Redactor to tell her not to bring that friend again because she was too old. But Redacted could not recall the woman's name and could not provide a description. So yeah, she was 19. She was too old. Way too old for Epstein. Girl 21. Interviewed on July 26 in New York. She was also recruited, about 17 years old. She only met with Epstein once and was accompanied by Redacted on that visit. When Redacted arrived at Epstein's New York residence, an older woman in her 40s or 50s who appeared to be a secretary answered the door, but Redacted does not recall the woman's name or any other identifying characteristics. The secretary directed Redacted to the massage room where they met Epstein. During the massage, Epstein touched Redacted's genitals and directed her to touch his. After the massage, the same secretary provided Redacted with a white envelope containing cash. Redacted never spoke or saw Epstein again. Female number 22. She was interviewed August 1st, 2019 in New York. She was 16 and working as a model when she was introduced to Jeffrey Epstein. On multiple occasions, Redacted went to Epstein's Manhattan residence to engage in these massages in exchange for money. During these sessions, Epstein mastered, the abuse scaled over time to include oral, and during her last meeting with Epstein, he raped her. Epstein knew Redacted's age because she told him during their first meeting that she was 16. Shortly after Redacted met Epstein, he offered her an apartment in his building, Redacted accepted. Upon moving into the building, Redacted met a woman named Redacted, whom she believed lived in a different apartment in the same building. Redacted recalled asking Redacted when they first met whether Redacted should be scared or concerned about Epstein. In response, Redacted brushed the concern off, saying something like, "You're fine." They did not otherwise interact much. Redacted recalled that on one occasion, Redacted purchased white lace underwear for Redacted at Epstein's direction. Epstein subsequently took pictures of Redacted wearing that underwear. On other occasions, Redacted recalled Epstein telling Redacted that Redacted was his best little blank sucker. Additionally, Redacted was Redacted, and Redacted wired money so that she and Redacted could travel to Paris and stay at Epstein's home there. Redacted also recalled at least one instance when Redacted called her to schedule a massage appointment with Epstein. After Epstein graped Redacted, she decided to return home, and Epstein agreed to pay for her flight home. Redacted recalled that someone named Ghislaine, whom Redacted believed to be Epstein's assistant, emailed her the plane ticket. On September 18th, 2019, Redacted was re interviewed. In addition to confirming the information she provided during her prior interview, Redacted provided additional details regarding her interactions with Epstein's employees. The employees are complicit as well. I would never subject any of my friends to such a thing. I know. Yeah, he was still recruiting. I'm okay, Abby. Thank you. Redacted stated again that Redacted worked for Epstein as an assistant. At some point, Epstein said something about having Redacted put Redacted on his schedule. Both Epstein and Redacted would call and or text Redacted to schedule massages with Epstein at his New York residence. Redacted also sent Redacted money via Western Union from Epstein when Redacted was traveling in Europe. In addition, Redacted recalled an instance in which Epstein forced her to perform oral on him while he sat in a cushion in a hallway inside his New York residence. Wow. As Redacted pulled away from Epstein's crotch, she saw Redacted standing in the hallway. Redacted said, "Oh," then laughed and walked away. Following that incident, Epstein bragged to Redacted in front of Redacted that Redacted was his best little blank sucker. In response, Redacted said something like, "Oh, good to know." Redacted recalled hearing Epstein make this comment about her to Redacted on more than one occasion. She also recalled that Epstein would refer to her as one of my girls to Redacted. On a separate occasion, Epstein directed Redacted to purchase new underwear for Redacted. He specified that Redacted should go to Victoria's Secret and buy white underwear. Sometimes Sometime later, Redacted gave Redacted a white pair. Epstein later photographed Redacted in them, but Redacted was not present for those photographs. Redacted could not recall whether Redacted ever paid her for those massages. She did not recall ever talking about her own life, background, or age with Redacted. After Redacted moved away from New York and stopped seeing Epstein, an assistant named Redacted reached out to her on Epstein's behalf to schedule a return trip to Epstein. Following that call, Redacted sent Redacted a round trip plane ticket to visit Epstein. Redacted recalled that Ghislaine Maxwell was a name associated with the Expedia account that booked the ticket. Redacted did not end up using the tickets. Redacted never met Redacted or Maxwell in person. Redacted explained that her only interaction with Redacted was when Redacted first moved into the apartment building on 66th Street. Redacted knocked on blank door to check on her. Redacted asked whether she, Redacted, was safe here, and Redacted assured her that she was fine and safe. Yeah, that place was so gross and scary. I know when they said the blowjob in the hallway, I was thinking of, I don't know if you guys can remember from the pictures, but it was like that seat in the hallway that was like, I could see the picture in my head. I might have to find it for the next live. But I just remember that like cushion in the hallway, and I'm like, ew. That's why they wanted all that freaky furniture everywhere. Hey Joey, good to see you. Female number 23 was interviewed on August 6th in New York. She was 14 years old and attending high school when she was recruited. Redacted agreed and accompanied Redacted to Epstein's New York residence. Upon arriving, Redacted went with Redacted to the massage room where they massaged Epstein together. During the massage, Epstein mastered and touched Redacted. Afterwards, Epstein paid both Redacted and Redacted. Epstein subsequently invited Redacted to return over the next month. Redacted engaged in paid massages with Epstein at his New York residence approximately twice per week. Redacted also knew that a girl named Redacted was bringing girls to Epstein. After about a month, Redacted began bringing other minor girls to massage Epstein, and Epstein paid Redacted for each girl she brought. She recalled bringing as many as 3 or 4 minor girls to Epstein in a single week. Redacted continued bringing girls to Epstein until she was about 17 years old. Sometimes Redacted would participate in the massages, and sometimes she would wait outside the massage room. Redacted also recalled a few occasions when Epstein directed her to engage in SCX acts with the tall blonde girl, whose name she did not recall, but who we believe to be Redacted. Redacted did not recall whether she explicitly discussed her age or the ages of the girls she brought with Epstein. She stopped seeing Epstein after learning from the news that he was in trouble with law enforcement. Other than Epstein, Redacted recalled speaking with Leslie Groff on the phone when she was scheduling massages. Primarily, though, Redacted recalled that Groff would answer the phone and then transfer her call to Epstein. Girl 24. On September 18th, 2019, she was interviewed. She was recruited when she was 15 years old. She went on a field trip to New York, where Redacted was living at the time. Redacted was staying at Epstein's New York residence, and Redacted went there to visit her. While there, an assistant whose name Redacted does not recall showed her around the mansion and took a clothed photograph of her. At some point, Redacted mentioned to the assistant that she was on a high school field trip. The assistant took down Redacted's contact information, and then Redacted left to go shopping. A few weeks later, Redacted returned to Redacted from the field trip. Epstein's assistant called her to say that Epstein wanted to meet her and invited Redacted to see a David Copperfield show in Las Vegas. Bringing them to one of to David Copperfield's shows was also grooming. That was one of his disgusting friends that's in those pictures that we saw on the island. Yeah. Hey, Calissa. Redacted accepted the invitation and her mother. What? Wait. Redacted accepted the invitation and her mother coordinated with Epstein's assistant to arrange the logistics. This girl mother let her go. Let me read that again. A few weeks after Redacted returned from the field trip, Epstein's assistant called her to say that Epstein wanted to meet her and invited Redacted to see a David Copperfield show in Las Vegas. She accepted the invitation and her mother. Wow. I wonder if this girl's mother knew she was feeding her to the monsters, to the demons. Oh, that's devastating. Redacted met up with Redacted, Epstein, and a few other females whose names she does not recall in Las Vegas, where they saw the show. From there, the group went to Epstein's private jet and flew to New Mexico. During the flight, Epstein asked Redacted her age. She truthfully said she was 15 years old. I'm sorry. I ain't letting my daughter go anywhere on a flight with some older man and some weird assistant. But, we see this all the time in Hollywood. Justin Bieber, the Spears, Disney, a lot of Disney actresses and actors, unfortunately, got their parents. They would allow it. Anything for fame or money, eh? Redacted and Redacted then stayed on Epstein's. Is it worth it? Was it worth it? Maybe for some of those parents, they lived rich, like Britney Spears' parents. I don't know. That's crazy. Let me take a drink. Okay. Redacted and Redacted then stayed on Epstein's New Mexico ranch for a few days. Okay, so most of these girls went from each location, all the graping locations. Zorro, Paris, the islands, New York. Redacted and Redacted then stayed on Epstein's New Mexico ranch for a few days. One day, a redhead female on the trip asked Redacted to give Redacted a massage. Redacted believes she saw a camera in the corner of the massage room. The redhead directed Redacted to take off her clothes and then massaged her what area. The next day, a middle-aged woman whose name Redacted does not recall, but who is not Ghislaine Maxwell, told Redacted that Epstein wanted to see her. Epstein then took Redacted up to his bedroom, where he asked her to give him a massage. Epstein then used a toy to touch her. The next day, Epstein gave Redacted and Redacted cash to go shopping. Later in that trip, Epstein bought Redacted white underwear from Victoria's Secret and photographed her wearing them. You know what's funny is like, okay, so they used David Copperfield for the magic shows to groom and stuff. And then he used Victoria's Secret, which is Les Wexner. I want to watch his deposition after this, but are you guys interested? Let me know in the chat. Let me know. Um Les Wexner is disgusting. That old man needs to die too because he's a monster. At some point during this trip, Ghislaine Maxwell arrived on the property, but Redacted did not interact with her. At the end of the trip, Epstein asked Redacted what she wanted for her future. Redacted said she wanted to go to college, and Epstein wrote her a $5,000 check, which Redacted did eventually use to help pay for college. After Redacted returned home, someone reached out and invited her to Epstein's island, but Redacted declined and never saw Epstein again. Part B, interviews of victims who were raped as adults. So all the ones we just went through were all like minors. Girl number one. Redacted was interviewed on August 27th in New York, who she reported being essayed by Epstein as an adult. Redacted is redacted. When Redacted was over the age of 18, she met Ghislaine Maxwell in California through a man named Gypsy, who was teaching Redacted to be a professional masseuse. Maxwell eventually recruited Redacted to fly to Palm Beach to provide both massages to Maxwell and Epstein. When Redacted first arrived at Epstein's Palm Beach residence, Maxwell told her she would be fine and to just do whatever Epstein likes. Over the next approximately 3 years, Redacted traveled with Epstein and Maxwell as their masseuse, including on their trip to Africa with President Clinton. We saw those pictures. We have an Epstein playlist. Go back and replay all of it. I swear it's worth your time. So this is a girl they recruited to become a masseuse, and then she ends up teaching other girls, I believe. And President Clinton, you're a nasty FUCK. Redacted provided normal massages to Maxwell multiple times. Redacted also massaged Epstein, who forced her to engage in an escalating series of sex acts with him. Redacted recalled that Epstein raped her approximately a dozen times over the 3 years she traveled with him. She never discussed the essay with anyone else in Epstein's circle, including Maxwell. Yeah, we saw these photos of this trip to Africa. So you guys will definitely, if you're interested, go back and watch them like 6 lives ago. Thanks, Beautifully Broken. Redacted recalled that Leslie Groff and Maxwell coordinated the travel logistics for her and Epstein. She recalls that Groff was right outside the closed door to Epstein's office on one occasion when Epstein forced Redacted to perform oral sex on him, but she does not know whether Groff knew what was happening inside the office. Redacted believed Epstein was going behind Maxwell's back when he essayed her and did not think Maxwell knew anything about Epstein's advances towards her. Throughout her time with Epstein, Redacted felt very isolated and was not aware that Epstein was essaying any other victims, including Redacted and Redacted and Redacted. Girl number 2. She was interviewed on September 18th. She reported being essayed by Epstein as an adult when she was 18 years old. She traveled to New York as a model. While in New York, she met David Blaine at a nightclub. Blaine subsequently introduced her to Epstein and brought her to Epstein's New York residence for a dinner party where she gave Epstein her phone number. Subsequently, Redacted contacted Redacted to invite her to Epstein's private island. Redacted accepted the invitation and Redacted arranged her travel. Redacted subsequently had dozens of interactions with Epstein over the next year, during which she traveled to both the Virgin Islands and Palm Beach with him. During these trips, Redacted met with Redacted, and Ghislaine Maxwell. She understood that Redacted was Epstein's girlfriend. Wait, David Blaine? What? Let me look. He's also a magician. Wow. So these magicians were involved with Jeffrey Epstein all the way through and through. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Um, at some point, Epstein offered to pay Redacted $200 if she massaged him. Redacted agreed and ended up giving Epstein multiple massages, during which Epstein engaged in SEX contact with her. Redacted did not feel comfortable discussing the details of the SEX contact during this interview. Redacted recalled Redacted telling her that Epstein wanted a massage on at least one of the occasions, and Redacted noticed that there were often numerous girls around Epstein's residences. Redacted did not know if any of these girls were minors. Epstein told Redacted, though, that everyone, including Redacted, was over the age of 18. She also recalled that taking one trip with Redacted, during which they traveled to Las Vegas and then to New Mexico with Epstein. Before the trip, Redacted told Epstein that Redacted was underage, and Epstein said that was fine. During that trip, Redacted recalled Maxwell engaging in SEX conversations, such as discussions of master, you know what, but she did not recall Epstein being discussed during those conversations. Female 3. Redacted was interviewed on July 17th in New York. Redacted knew and interacted with Epstein when she was 17 years old. She met Epstein through Redacted, who had been previously introduced to Epstein by a mutual friend. At their first meeting, Epstein specifically asked Redacted her age and told her in substance that they could not interact until she turned 18. Footnote says by 2007, Epstein knew he was under investigation for massages with minors. He pled guilty to a state of solicitation of a minor in 2008. After her 18th birthday, Epstein began having Redacted give him massages, during which he used a toy. A short time later, Epstein took Redacted on a trip to his Virgin Island residence. During that trip, Epstein directed Redacted to give him a massage, during which he essayed her. Between Redacted, Epstein had intercourse with Redacted on multiple occasions. She described the first of these instances as forcible and explained that she eventually stopped resisting. Magicians are like con artists, tricking people to believe a false action, so makes sense. Ugh, it's so disturbing. Redacted recalled that Leslie Groff would schedule her appointments with Epstein and make her travel arrangements. This Leslie Groff nasty ass needs to be arrested. Like, for reals. Or fed to the pigs. Like, she's disgusting, just like Ghislaine Ho. Anyways, Groff would make her massage appointments and travel arrangements. Groff worked in an office inside Jeffrey Epstein's New York residence during the times Redacted visited, and Redacted met her many times. Redacted also recalled that an assistant named Redacted would sometimes cover for Groff and run errands for Epstein. Redacted also knew that Redacted worked as Epstein's assistant until she got married in around 2011, and that Redacted was Epstein's girlfriend. When Epstein was serving his jail sentence, Redacted visited him while he was on work release at his office and engaged in SEX conduct with him there. Wait, what? While serving his jail sentence, Redacted visited while he was on work release at his office and engaged in SEX conduct with him there. I don't get it. He was in jail? After Epstein completed his sentence, Redacted did not have any other encounters with him, but she occasionally worked for him by running errands or cleaning his house. In and around Redacted, Epstein paid Redacted $10,000 to marry a young woman who was a foreign national and whom Epstein wanted to be able to stay in the United States. These two were married for about 4 years, then divorced and Redacted. Redacted ceased all communications with Epstein after the divorce. Wait, I'm confused. So Epstein paid her, a female, to marry another young female who was a foreign national and who Epstein wanted to stay in the US. Am I understanding that right? In and around Redacted, Epstein paid Redacted $10,000 to marry a young woman who was a foreign national and whom Epstein wanted to be able to stay in the US. He was on release program. They work during the day outside of prison, then go back. Oh, so Epstein was having SCX while he was outside. Wow. Hmm. I wonder who that was. I have to look into that part. Female number 4, October 24th, 2019. She was interviewed in New York. She met him when she was 20 years old. At the time, Redacted was Redacted and had limited financial resources. A friend of Redacted from Redacted, named Redacted, suggested that Redacted could provide massages to a man who paid really well. Redacted agreed and began providing Epstein with paid massages at his New York residence. During either the first or the second massage, Epstein engaged in SEX contact with Redacted. After that, she began providing Epstein with paid massages multiple times per week. The appointments were scheduled at first by Redacted and then by Leslie Groff, or Redacted. She recalls being paid for these massages by Epstein, Groff, and Bella Klein. Within a few months of meeting Epstein, she moved into Epstein's apartment on the building of 66th Street in New York. Bella Klein? Why do I not know who that is? Let me see. Oh, she's someone involved in the administrative, financial, or logistical support roles tied to Epstein. She was roped into the US Virgin Islands Attorney General case. She's a ringleader. It's one of these pages says. Epstein's financial assistant and accountant. He was allowed to leave jail regularly for work, and he also had a victim visit him in jail a lot. His girlfriend, he helped her marry another woman to stay in America. Oh, wait, his girlfriend, he paid her to marry someone, another girl, so she could stay in the US? Wow. And we're assuming his girlfriend was Karina Shuliak, right? Or we're just assuming it. That's wild. Um, In and around Redacted traveled with Epstein to his residence in the Virgin Islands, New Mexico, and Palm Beach. At some point, Epstein escalated his SEX contact by graping her. As she spent more time with Epstein, he became more controlling about her appearance. For example, Epstein limited Redacted's food intake, bought her white underwear to wear, and made Redacted cut her hair in short and dye it blonde. During the same period, Maxwell was present for trips Redacted took with Epstein to the Virgin Islands. Redacted specifically recalls participating in conversations during which Maxwell provided Redacted and others, including Redacted, with tips on how to please Epstein schmexually. She recalled Maxwell describing Epstein as needing a lot of SEX, and Maxwell encouraged Redacted and other girls to engage in this activity with Epstein. Ew. But that's who I thought it was, the dentist girlfriend. Eventually, Redacted became aware that Epstein's actual girlfriend was Redacted. On different occasions, Epstein directed Redacted to engage in sex activity with other women in the context of massages, including Redacted and Redacted, as well as a woman named Redacted. Redacted and Redacted also recalled introducing Redacted to Epstein, but she was not present when Epstein essayed Redacted. She also recalls seeing Redacted, Jean-Luc Brunel, and Redacted at Epstein U.S. Virgin Islands home during 2007. On at least one occasion, Redacted took Redacted shopping and mentioned during the shopping trip that Epstein liked white underwear. When traveling to the Virgin Islands, Redacted would collect everyone's passport and hold them until the end of the trip. At some point, Redacted heard about a news article saying that Epstein was a child. Redacted confronted Epstein about the article and he denied knowing any contact with minors. Epstein explained the situation by claiming that someone had shown him a fake ID suggesting she was 18 years old. About a year after meeting Epstein during a trip to the Virgin Islands, Redacted posted a message on her MySpace page, complaining about being stuck on an island with a horrible girl named Redacted, referencing Redacted. Epstein learned of the post and became enraged. He sent Redacted back to New York and directed her to move out of the 66th Street building. Following the incident, Redacted continued to have contact with Epstein, but she spent less time with him. Epstein subsequently paid for Redacted to attend massage school, which she completed in and around Redacted. Epstein and Maxwell both asked Redacted to find other young women to massage Epstein, but Redacted never actually recruited anyone to do so. Epstein, in particular, said the younger a girl looked, the better. Redacted recalled a conversation during which Epstein referred to Maxwell as too old, and Maxwell responded to that Epstein liked girls too young. Redacted also recalled that Redacted would go to nightclubs to pick up new girls to provide sex massages. It's like Ghislaine wanted so bad to be Jeffrey's one and only, but she could never be. And so her anger led her to become this monster. This jealous, envious, disgusting monster. Redacted recalled bringing other girls to massage Epstein. Redacted never asked how old these girls were, but they looked young. Redacted recalled that Brunel would bring girls to meet Epstein, but she does not know whether any engaged in sex activity. She does recall, however, Brunel commenting that Epstein liked them young. Around the time Epstein went to jail, Redacted asked Redacted to meet her at Epstein's New York residence to go through stuff in the basement. Once Redacted arrived, Redacted directed her to throw away any toys and photographs of young women. Redacted then paid Redacted for helping with that task. Redacted also recalled that Redacted and Epstein both telling her that if anyone in the press approached her, Redacted should not say anything. Side note 37 says, we believe this woman to be Redacted who recruited other victims for Epstein in New York. The FBI made contact with Redacted earlier this month. She provided contact information for an attorney who represents her. Okay. Redacted recalled 2 instances in which Epstein directed her to provide massages to other men, both of which occurred in and around 2011 or 2012. First, Epstein instructed Redacted to massage Leon Black at Epstein's New York residence. Redacted attempted to give Black an ordinary massage, but Black began initiating sex contact, at which point Redacted ran out of the room. Redacted complained to Epstein, who laughed it off as a funny incident. Redacted also recalled a woman named Redacted being directed to massage Black, and afterwards, Redacted told Redacted that she provided Black that she had provided Black with oral sex during the massage. Second, Epstein instructed her to provide a massage to Jess Staley in Epstein's New York residence. Redacted attempted to give him an ordinary massage, but he forced Redacted to touch his you-know-what and then raped her. Afterwards, Redacted complained to Epstein, who said he left it to Redacted and Staley to decide whether to engage in SCX. After this incident, Redacted began to distance herself from Epstein. Epstein did not pay Redacted for providing these massages to Black or Staley, but Epstein was paying for Redacted to finish her massage school at the time, so she felt indebted to him. Uh, Staley and Leon Black. Leon Black, he's still alive and not in jail, right? Great. He made $158 million in payments to Jeffrey Epstein for tax and estate planning. We think that was for the T word. You know what I mean? Ew. He's gross. Why hasn't he been arrested too? Yuck. On next female. August 26th, she was interviewed in New York. She reported being essayed when she was 19 years old. Redacted was working in a coffee shop where a blonde Eastern European woman named Redacted approached her and recruited her to give a wealthy man a massage. Redacted told Redacted that she made money for each woman she recruited and assured Redacted that it would just be a massage and nothing more. Redacted agreed and later went to Epstein's New York residence to perform a massage. During the massage, Epstein directed Redacted to remove her clothes, and after she complied, he masked her and touched her. Redacted asked Epstein to stop, but he continued to assault her until he Redacted. Afterwards, Epstein paid Redacted in cash. Redacted recalled that a maid walked her up to the massage room and walked her out of the residence after the massage, but she did not know the maid's name or recall any identifying characteristics. Redacted attempted to get Redacted to return for another massage with Epstein, but Redacted never returned. Leon Black, yeah, look him up. He's big guy. Yeah. And then Jess Staley, ugh. Did he ever get arrested? No. Right? Or did he? I don't remember that. Jess Staley, yeah, is Barclays ex-CEO. No. I don't think he was former JP Morgan executive. I don't think he was ever arrested either. So why am I not surprised about that either? I'm really not. Okay, let's move on. Female number 6. On August 28th, she was interviewed in New York, reported, when she was 22 years old, she met a woman named Redacted who appeared to be in her mid-20s. At the time, Redacted was studying to be a massage therapist, and Redacted said that her boss, Ghislaine Maxwell, was looking for someone to replace Redacted. Redacted was interested, so she took a picture of Redacted's face to show her bosses. Shortly thereafter, someone called Redacted and arranged to fly her from Redacted to New York. Once in New York, Redacted provided a massage to Maxwell at her residence. At the end of the massage, Maxwell told Redacted to give her partner Jeffrey what he wants and added, Jeffrey always gets what he wants. Maxwell then paid Redacted $100 later, or $100. Later, that's disgusting. Later that same day, Redacted went to Epstein's New York residence to massage him. At least Jeffrey paid them $200 or $300. Like, Ghislaine was a cheap ass. He asked for a foot massage. And during the massage, he used his foot to touch her breasts and crotch through her clothing. At the end of the massage, Epstein fondled her through her clothing as she was leaving. Redacted then left and never heard from Epstein or Maxwell again. Female number 7 of the adults. August 28th, she was interviewed in New York. Redacted explained that she previously did not recall who recruited her, but Redacted helped her remember that it was a woman named Redacted who was a redacted woman with long hair. When Redacted was about 20 years old living in New York in and around 2000, she met Redacted at a club. Redacted eventually invited her to meet a friend on the Upper East Side, and Redacted agreed. Redacted then brought Redacted to Epstein's New York residence. Once there, a woman who appeared to be Epstein's personal assistant, but whose name Redacted could not recall, greeted them and had them wait. Epstein then invited Redacted and Redacted into the massage room, where Redacted and Redacted gave Epstein a massage. During the massage, Epstein directed her and Redacted to engage in SCX contact with each other and also engaged in SCX contact with Redacted. The encounter ended when someone knocked on the door and called for Epstein, who left in a rush. Redacted and Redacted then left. The next day, Redacted invited Redacted to return, but Redacted declined and never saw Epstein again. August 28th, girl number 8 was interviewed in New York. She reported being schmexually, TRAFFI, by Epstein as an adult. However, Redacted was emotional throughout the meeting and unable to provide details regarding her experiences. She stated generally that Epstein, Maxwell, Redacted, and Groff all ruined her life, but she was too distressed to answer questions about what each of those individuals did. We did have repeated contact Redacted attorney. She is represented by Redacted to schedule a follow-up interview, but to date, her attorney has not been able to coordinate another interview. Female number 9. Redacted was interviewed via VTC on August 29th. She reported being essayed by Epstein as an adult in and around Redacted when she was about 20 years old living in New York. A young woman named Redacted approached her at a coffee shop where she worked. Redacted hung out with Redacted a couple of times and then asked Redacted if she wanted to make money by giving a massage to her boss. Redacted said she had done it before and it was easy. Redacted agreed and accompanied Redacted to Epstein's New York residence. Once there, a maid whose name Redacted does not recall let the two into the house and took Redacted to the massage room while Redacted waited in the kitchen. Once Redacted was in the massage room, Epstein entered the room in a towel and laid on the massage table. During the massage, Epstein touched Redacted while master. After the assault, Epstein left and the maid returned to bring Redacted down to the kitchen, where Redacted gave Redacted $400. Afterwards, Redacted asked if she wanted to return, but Redacted declined. She then told Redacted that she made $600 per recruit and asked Redacted if she wanted to help recruit. Again, she declined. Yeah, it was right. Adult female number 10. She was interviewed on September 12th. She was also essayed as an adult in her early 20s. She was living in New York and working as a model. A booker recommended that she meet with Epstein because he could help her modeling career. Redacted ended up visiting Epstein's New York residence on one occasion. Upon arrival, she was greeted by a female assistant whose name she does not know. Redacted then met with Epstein alone in a room with a massage table. At first, Epstein told Redacted he could help her find modeling work with Victoria's Secret. There we go. That's when he is going to use his connection to Les Wexner. Eventually, though, Epstein aggressively approached Redacted and attempted to touch her. Epstein offered to pay her Redacted money, but she refused to take anything from him. Redacted saw a large vibrator in the room, which she picked up and threw at Epstein before leaving. She never saw him again. Not her throwing the toy. Female number 11, she was interviewed on October 23rd. when she was recruited when she was 27 years old and working as a model in Los Angeles. A friend of hers introduced her to Epstein as someone who worked for Victoria's Secrets and could help with her modeling career. That's where Les Wexner comes into the picture again. Epstein then arranged to meet with Redacted in his hotel room in Los Angeles. An assistant named Kimberly called Redacted to tell the time and place of the meeting. During the meeting, Epstein told Redacted to undress and then groped her. Redacted resisted and decided to leave. Before Redacted left, Epstein handed her $100 and she never saw him again. Kimberly was Ghislaine Maxwell's assistant. Female number 12. On October 23rd, she was also interviewed. She was essayed as an adult, 22 years old, also a model in New York. She met a woman named Redacted at a club. Redacted told her about a man who liked to help people and had connections in the modeling world. Redacted asked if Redacted would be willing to give him a massage while only in her underwear, and Redacted agreed. Redacted subsequently went with Redacted to Epstein's New York residence. Upon arriving, she took Redacted to the massage room, had her undress, and then left. Redacted then provided Epstein a massage during which he attempted to touch her and began master. After the massage, Epstein paid Redacted $300, after which she went down to the kitchen where Redacted was waiting for her. Redacted never returned and saw Epstein again. Next girl, 13th adult girl, was in New York. She was about 26 years old. She was working as a professional masseuse. Another professional masseuse connected Redacted with Epstein, who hired Redacted to massage him and others at his Mexico ranch for about the next 3 years. Redacted recalls that Epstein would come up to his ranch approximately 3 or 4 times per year. During most of those visits, she would ask to come to the ranch to provide massages. While at the ranch, Redacted provided massages to Ghislaine Maxwell and multiple young women who appeared to be models. Redacted also provided Epstein with massages during which he would engage in sex contact with her. Around Redacted saw Redacted at the ranch in Maxwell's office, but Redacted did not speak with Redacted, understood that Maxwell was Epstein's girlfriend and ran the house. Maxwell encouraged Redacted to bring friends out to the ranch to provide massages and emphasized that she wanted pretty young women. Redacted brought one professional masseuse her own age once to the ranch. Female 14, also interviewed on October 23rd in New York. She was 18 years old and modeling, basically the same way some girl at a nightclub, that she could make easy money massaging. She agreed and ended up giving Epstein paid massages on several occasions at his New York residence. Each massage was scheduled by Redacted and a maid whose name Redacted does not know, and would show Redacted to the massage room and pay her after each massage. At some point, Epstein connected Redacted with Jean-Luc Brunel for a modeling interview. Redacted also went on a trip to the Virgin Islands with Epstein and other young women. While on the island, Redacted provided Epstein with a massage during which he attempted to force her into more sex activity than she was comfortable with. Redacted became upset and she was sent home. She never saw Epstein again. Because remember, Jean-Luc is like a model agent or whatever he was. What will one do for money and fame? I know. C. Interviews of witnesses who were not abused. Juan Alessi. Juan Alessi was interviewed on July 13th, 2019 in Florida. He worked for Epstein as a house manager at his Palm Beach residence from the early 1990s until the end of 2002. You guys, I do want to remind you that this document has been deleted off the DOJ website. Additionally, his wife, Maria Alessi, who also worked at Epstein's Palm Beach residence. Mr. Alessi recalled that in or about 1993, Ghislaine Maxwell took charge of managing Epstein's residence in Palm Beach, New York, New Mexico, and the Virgin Islands, and Ohio. Around that time, Epstein specifically instructed Mr. Alessi to go to Maxwell for orders. Mr. Alessi described Maxwell as extremely demanding and compared working under her to slavery. Mr. Alessi recalled that his relationship with Epstein began to deteriorate beginning in approximately 2000, when Maxwell instructed Mr. Alessi and the other house staff not to make eye contact or be in the same room with Epstein. Around the same period, Mr. Alessi recalled that Epstein received approximately 3 massages per day when he was staying at his Palm Beach residence. 3 massages per day? Mr. Alessi understood most of the masseuses to be professional massage therapists from around the Palm Beach area, several of whom provided massages for Epstein's guests, including business partners and prominent people at the Palm Beach residence. At first, Mr. Alessi was responsible for scheduling Epstein's frequent massage appointments, but during the last several weeks of his employment, Redacted was hired as Epstein's personal assistant and began scheduling appointments instead. Closer to the end of his job, Maxwell asked Mr. Alessi to compile a list of all the hotels and spas around the Palm Beach area. After Mr. Alessi compiled the list, Maxwell instructed him to drive her around to each location. Maxwell would enter each location, then return with business cards of massage therapist. Mr. Alessi recalls one such incident in and around the summer of 2002 when he drove Ghislaine to Mar-a-Lago and waited for her to receive a massage there. After Maxwell returned to the car, she observed a young girl who Mr. Alessi later learned her name was Redacted and instructed Mr. Alessi to stop the car. Maxwell got out of the car and went to speak with Redacted for about 20 to 25 minutes before returning. Later that same day, Mr. Alessi saw Redacted come to Epstein's Palm Beach residence. Over the next several months, Redacted returned just about every day to the Palm Beach residence to give Epstein massages. Mr. Alessi recalls learning that Redacted was also traveling with Epstein to other locations, and he recalls Redacted bringing other girls about her age to the Palm Beach residence to massage Epstein. Mr. Alessi understood that Redacted was under the age of 18, but did not know what Redacted was doing in the massages with Epstein. So Ghislaine got a massage at Mar-a-Lago. Interesting. Mr. Alessi also recalled that a young girl named Redacted used to come to the Palm Beach residence regularly. He recalled that Redacted was Redacted and that she and her mother visited Epstein's Palm Beach residence multiple times. She and her mother, another mother that was complicit. Mr. Alessi and his wife both picked Redacted up and understood that Redacted was a friend of Epstein's. Mr. Alessi recalled that Redacted traveled with Epstein at least one time and eventually moved to Redacted with Epstein's help. Mr. Alessi observed Epstein kiss Redacted on the cheek and pat her on the bottom. In total, Mr. Alessi saw hundreds of girls at Epstein's Palm Beach residence, but he believed the majority to be in their 20s. Towards the last few months of his employment, Mr. Alessi began seeing younger girls, most of whom were brought to the residence by Ghislaine by Redacted. Maxwell instructed Mr. Alessi not to ask these girls their age or speak to them. Mr. Alessi recalls that Maxwell hired younger girls to come to the Palm Beach residence, including 2 girls whom Mr. Alessi knew to be in high school, but whose names he could not recall. Mr. Alessi believed most of the women who came to the house to be professional masseuses, but he also recalled cleaning up after massages and finding toys in the room, which he then washed. Mr. Alessi also recalled that Maxwell kept a basket filled with toys in her room and that Maxwell would occasionally, inside the massage room, a basket filled with toys in her room, and that Maxwell was occasionally inside the massage room with young women who came to the house. Mr. Alessi recalled more generally that many women would be topless or naked by the pool. At the very end of his time, Mr. Alessi told Epstein that he should slow down, that these girls would get him in trouble. Epstein remarked that it was fine and that these girls only care about money. When Mr. Alessi left Epstein's employment, Epstein told him, "I hope you keep your mouth shut." Wow. Maria Alessi, his wife. Maria Alessi was interviewed on July 13th, 2019 in Florida. Miss Alessi worked for Epstein at his Palm Beach residence from the mid 1990s until the end of 2002. Miss Alessi primarily worked outside of the house, often shopping and running errands, so she was not able to observe most of the visitors at the house. When asked who, if anyone, she specifically recalls coming to the Palm Beach residence, Miss Alessi recalled Ghislaine Maxwell frequently visiting the residence with Epstein. Miss Alessi believed that Maxwell was Epstein's personal assistant. She also recalled seeing Redacted at the Palm Beach residence. She also recalled seeing girls in their 20s or 30s around the house. Gary Bledsoe? Dr. Gary Bledsoe was interviewed by telephone on July 22nd, 2019. Bledsoe is a doctor who was hired by the Secret Service to provide backup medical services for Bill Clinton during a trip to Africa in 2002 on Epstein's private jet. Bledsoe recalled Ghislaine Maxwell and four young women, including Redacted, a masseuse named Redacted, and a model named Redacted, accompanied Epstein on the trip. Bledsoe stated that there was no minors on the flight. He did remark, though, that he found it odd that Epstein would bring four women on the trip. He witnessed Epstein grabbing Redacted's buttocks on the plane. Bledsoe also noticed that Redacted appeared to be intentionally positioning herself in front of the bedroom door so that no one other than Epstein and his entourage could go inside the bedroom on the plane. Otherwise, though, Bledsoe did not recall any suspicious or any appropriate behavior during the trip. Richard Barnett. Richard Barnett was interviewed on September 16th in New York. Barnett was a chief engineer and property manager of Epstein's New York residence from approximately 1995 through 2014. Barnett had never been interviewed previously, and he was finally fully cooperative in the interview. He explained that he was hired by Maxwell, and his job was to primarily keep the property in full working order, which included maintenance of medical operations, including the elevators, HVAC operations, and electrical work, and other structural aspects of the house. He occasionally visited other Epstein properties for similar purposes. Barnett has formal training as an engineer. He had little day-to-day interaction with Epstein and primarily reported to Maxwell until around 2007 or 2008, and then to Redacted. He described having seen many young women at the property, but none of whom he interacted directly. He was instructed not to speak to guests at the house. During the initial Florida investigation, he was told by Epstein's attorney that Epstein had inadvertently patronized an underage prostitute, and as a result, he did not know the scope of Epstein's misconduct until his arrest in 2019. D. Interviews of subjects of the investigation. Redacted. Redacted was first interviewed with her attorney present and pursuant to a proffer agreement on July 12th, 2019. And in Redacted, she was born in Redacted and spent her childhood in Redacted. Graduated high school in Redacted when she was about 18 or 19 years old. She left Redacted to travel as a model. Redacted, who connected her with a modeling agency in Redacted in and around late Redacted, moved to where she married her first husband in Redacted. They ultimately divorced Redacted before she began working for Epstein in Redacted. Redacted continued modeling also while working at her husband's Redacted and obtaining her associate's degree from Redacted. After leaving Epstein's employment in early Redacted, she obtained her bachelor's degree in Redacted and her master's degree in Redacted. She's currently employed, and it's all redacted. Huh. Was that the dentist? Because I thought the dentist was married or got married and then divorced at some point. I don't know. Yes, it's all that consumed his brain, Elijah. In and around Redacted, when she was in her early 20s, she met Epstein through the modeling community. Around Redacted, Epstein offered her a job working as an assistant. Around early Redacted, she began working as an assistant for Epstein and she remained his employee until early Redacted. Redacted reported to Redacted and Redacted, who reported to Ghislaine Maxwell. Her responsibilities included running errands and scheduling appointments. As a result, Redacted scheduled numerous massages for Epstein. According to Redacted, Epstein expected to have two massages every day, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. Redacted were responsible for ensuring that these massages were confirmed when Epstein was in Palm Beach. Leslie Groff was responsible for scheduling the massages when Epstein was in New York. At some point, Epstein began forcing Redacted to engage in encounters, which were coercive and non consensual. She was very distressed when discussing these incidents and did not want to describe them in detail during our first meeting. At least some of these encounters involved Redacted providing Epstein with massages while at his Virgin Island residence. As a result, Redacted was aware that Epstein massages were usually SEXUAL. Redacted described how Epstein had two groups of girls who provided massages in Palm Beach and New York homes. One group was a professional masseuse who gave actual massages to Epstein's friends, and the second group consisted of younger girls who were not professional masseuses and who only gave massages to Epstein. Redacted explained that she implicitly understood at the time, and now she realizes that Epstein was engaging in contact with the second group of girls. When scheduling massage appointments, either Redacted or Epstein would provide Redacted with the names of girls to call for massages, but for the most part, Redacted called to confirm the massage appointments. Redacted also recalled that Redacted would sometimes ask Redacted to call some of the masseuses and ask if they had another girl to bring. Redacted would occasionally show girls to the massage room and set up the massage table. Redacted believed it was impossible. Epstein had asked Redacted to pay the girls, but could not recall for certain. Redacted typed up a list of girls to call in Palm Beach and printed copies. Redacted recalled certain details that signaled to her in retrospect that girls in the second group were minors. For example, she was asked to help find SAT prep courses for one girl, and she recalls girls mentioning school and their parents. That said, Redacted was not at the time familiar with SAT or the fact that it is typically taken by high school students. Redacted explained that at the time of the relevant conduct, she never consciously realized that any of the girls involved in these massages were underage. She now realizes that in retrospect, she should have known that at least some of the girls were minors. Redacted also recalled Redacted frequently photographing other women, including taken nude photos of Redacted. Understood that Maxwell kept binders of these photos in her home in New York. In 2005, Epstein directed Redacted to collect all contact books and computers from his Palm Beach residence and provide them to a man who met Redacted at the residence. Redacted was present for the conversation in which Epstein gave Redacted these instructions. Sometime later in 2005, Redacted also asked Redacted to take the contact books from the Virgin Islands and shred them. Epstein was under investigation at the time. On September 10th, 2019, we met Redacted with Redacted and her attorney for a second proffer, during which we further discussed her year working for Epstein. During Redacted's employment for Epstein, she, Redacted, and Redacted all had apartments in Epstein's 60th Street building in New York. Redacted recalled when Redacted photographed Redacted and recalled that Maxwell had binders of the photos of women posing in Epstein's different residences. Generally, during her year working for Epstein, Redacted noticed that Epstein received 2 massages per day. Leslie Groff scheduled the massages in New York, while Redacted scheduled the massages in Palm Beach. Redacted understood that Maxwell was Epstein's ex-girlfriend. Maxwell would give Redacted directions about tasks to carry out, such as errands for the houses. Redacted also recalled one instance in New Mexico when Maxwell told Redacted that if she found a pretty girl, she should get the girl's number so that the girl can massage Epstein. Also, during this proffer, we reviewed certain documents such as message pads recovered from Epstein's Palm Beach residence during the first Florida investigation with Redacted. She confirmed she wrote one message for Epstein from Jean-Luc Brunel that referenced having a teenage girl for Epstein to meet. We have already showed that message in a photo on a different live. Redacted distinctively recalled Maxwell commenting on how funny that particular message was. Redacted also confirmed that at least one message referenced someone who was being scheduled to massage Epstein being in high school. Redacted also recalled at least one girl wanting to talk about college and another girl named Redacted discussing the SAT. Redacted recalls discussing redacted SAT classes with Maxwell at some point and also recalls ordering SAT prep books for her. Redacted knew that Redacted and Redacted shared an apartment in New York with Redacted. She recalls Redacted left the apartment and stopped spending time with Epstein after developing an eating disorder. We heard about her at the very beginning of the live. Redacted also met Redacted, who believed Redacted was over the age of 18 when she met her. Redacted also knew that Redacted recruited girls for Epstein in New York and shared an apartment with Redacted, who also helped Redacted find girls to massage Epstein. Redacted also recalled a young woman named Redacted traveling with Epstein. Let me see how much of this document we have left because it is pretty long. I want to get through all of it though tonight. Yeah, that's just not going to be possible. To find girls to massage Epstein. She also recalled a young woman, okay, traveling with Epstein. Let me see. Half of this document is like redacted already, but then the last. Oh, wow. Okay. Um, I'm going to read a little bit more, and we're definitely going to have to do two parts of this because I didn't realize how long it was. Um, I'm going to read a few more minutes. I'll have to do a part two, unfortunately. Redacted provided Redacted with training regarding how to make scheduling calls and was Redacted direct supervisor. During the year Redacted worked for Epstein, she would primarily take responsibility for calling to confirm massage appointments when she was in New York and planning to travel to Palm Beach. Redacted recalls Epstein wanted his massages confirmed either the night before or the morning of each appointment. Wait, did I skip a page? No. Redacted recalled that there were certain girls, such as Redacted, and Redacted, who would come to the Palm Beach residence with other girls and wait in the kitchen while the girls they brought massaged Epstein. In those circumstances, both the girl who gave the massage and the girl who waited in the kitchen would be paid. Redacted stated that although in retrospect she believes there was indications that some of the individuals providing massages to Epstein were especially young or in high school, she did not know at the time that certain individuals were underage. She did understand generally, though, that at least some massages involved sex acts because she was required to perform such acts in the context of massages for Epstein. At some point, when she was in Miami with Epstein and Redacted was directed to drive to Palm Beach to meet someone there. Both Redacted and Epstein told Redacted to drive to Palm Beach. Redacted did not understand what was going on, but she recalls Epstein saying something happened with the visa. Epstein and Redacted directed Redacted to gather computers and directories from the Palm Beach house and give them to a man who would meet Redacted there. Redacted gave Redacted his phone number of the person who was to meet in Palm Beach, followed those instructions, and gave the computers and directories from Palm Beach to a man who met her at Epstein's Palm Beach residence. The footnote says materials from the search warrant executed by the Palm Beach Police Department in 2005 confirmed that computers appeared to have been removed from Epstein's Palm Beach residence prior to the search. Holy cow. So there's like documents that are not even included in here because they got rid of them. After Redacted completed that task in Palm Beach, Redacted asked Redacted to gather the directories from Epstein's Virgin Island residence and bring them back to New York. Redacted reminded Redacted to check every building on Epstein's island for directories. Redacted followed this instruction and brought the directories to Maxwell's house in New York, where she gave them to Redacted and then told Redacted to shred the directories in Maxwell's house. Redacted also recalled an instance when Darren Indike met with her and told her that if she ever needed help, she should not talk to the police. Who is this Gary Endike person? Let me look who this is. or Darren in Dyke, a Florida-based attorney and the longtime personal lawyer for Jeffrey Epstein from 1995 until his death. He is currently a central figure in the fallout of the Epstein case. So this attorney told her not to go to the police. Redacted advised that she was also extensively essayed by Epstein during her year as his employee. Although we did not delve into the specific details about all of those events, she described having been required to provide SEX massages, similar to many other victims we have interviewed in this case. Redacted was primarily required to provide Epstein with these massages at his residence in the Virgin Islands and New Mexico, though she recalls one such massage in Palm Beach. Epstein conveyed to Redacted that her job responsibilities, including providing SEX massages to him. Redacted recalled having about 5 SEX encounters with both Epstein and Redacted, who was Epstein's girlfriend at the time. Redacted did not feel that she could decline to engage in SEX activity with Epstein. Her job depended on relenting on his advances, and she knew that he had guns, somewhat of which he kept in his bedroom. After about a year, Redacted was finally able to quit and return living with her husband. So she was married as she was working and doing all of this. Who was that? I'm curious. And why are they protecting her? I thought it was the dentist girl. I thought she was married. Let me see. It is. It says it is her. Karenia Shuliak. Hmm. The Belarusian women. Yeah. A loyal companion of Jeffrey Epstein, Karenia Shulia, was the last person to speak to him on the phone shortly before his death. She inherited 100 million. Okay. She then a 20-year-old student of dental medicine. Was she married though? Hmm. I bet it is her. Let me see if I can see something. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it is her. Remember we were talking about how Jeffrey Epstein forced her to marry a woman? Dentist was married to a woman. Yes, pizza. Yes, there was another woman who married her husband, just left her after the Epstein files came out. Yeah, it is her because it says right here where I'm looking up, it says she married a woman named Jennifer who had been in a relationship with Kimball Musk after Jeffrey Epstein connected them. So it is her. So then it's her in this document. She went back to her husband? Wait, but she married the female. Was she also married to a man? The SCX offender, use student visas, English language. Okay, we know that. But was she married to a man too? Like I know she just married that woman for, Epstein purposes, but was she married to someone else? Maybe that's who you're talking about, pizza? Hmm. That's wild. No, his girlfriend didn't have a husband. Oh, so this is somebody else. Huh. Let me see. Um, Let me see if I can look up this doc real quick and it'll tell me. Planned inheritance marriage with Karina Shuliak. Okay, wait. Okay, we know she's the one who married Jennifer, though female, apparently. Hmm. Okay, so this is allegedly to be I'm trying to see who that is. I'll have to do some research on it tonight. Because we know it wasn't her. There's so many people involved with this. It's crazy. There was another woman whose name was husband. Oh, I already read that. Yeah. He only had the dentist married to stay in the US, but he had relations with her even though she was married. He had another mistress who was a major recruiter. Her husband just left her that I know of. That's probably who this female is, the one that we just read about. That's probably her because it says after about a year, she was finally able to to quit and return living with her husband. Hmm. Okay, let's read a little bit more. Second person. This whole paragraph is redacted. On October 7th, 2019, redacted attorneys provided us with an attorney proffer during which they explained how redacted met Epstein and how Epstein abused her over several years, beginning when she was 18 years old. It was during the course of this abuse that Epstein brought redacted into some of his massages to participate in acts with other girls. The attorney proffer detailed how Epstein controlled every aspect of Redacted's life, including her physical appearance, her weight, her clothing, for years. This controlling behavior took multiple abusive forms, including forcing Redacted to have multiple plastic surgeries, forcing her to engage in BDSM, referring to her as a sex slave, insulting her, and physically abusing, including choking her and throwing her down a set of stairs. Additionally, her attorneys provided us with photographs of Redacted and Redacted, who both appear very thin together, wearing t shirts that read, "Don't feed the pig." And then this whole footnote is redacted, and the next two sentences, the next whole paragraph is redacted. First, on October 11th, 2019, Redacted participated in an interview during which she walked us through her background, how she met Epstein, and the general contours of her relationship with him. Redacted was redacted and began modeling in Europe in her early teens. And approximately redacted, when Redacted was 18 years old, she received a visa to travel to New York to work as a model for Karen Models, which was owned by Jean-Luc Brunel. Redacted was in New York for a few weeks before she met Epstein. During that during that time, employees of the agency told Redacted that she owed the company money for her travel and housing, but she also needed to lose weight before she could go on any castings. Redacted did not end up going on any castings because in Redacted, she met Epstein at Jean-Luc Brunel's birthday party. After speaking briefly with Epstein at the party, Redacted received a call from Epstein's assistant, Redacted, a few days later inviting her to Palm Beach. Redacted eventually agreed to travel to Epstein's Palm Beach residence. And during that first trip, Epstein engaged in sex contact with Redacted in a massage room. A few days later, Redacted flew with Epstein, Redacted and Redacted, to the Virgin Islands. She remained there for a few days before flying back to New York. She was also in emails related to dentistry and stuff. I'll look into it and figure it out tonight if we can get the names of all the people in this document. In October 2003, Epstein paid for Redacted to fly back to Redacted so that she could finish high school there. Redacted then returned to Redacted in and around Redacted, at which point Epstein offered to let her stay in an apartment in his building on 66th Street in New York. Redacted agreed, and after that, she traveled everywhere Epstein went, including his residences in New York, Palm Beach, Virgin Islands, New Mexico, and Paris. Eventually, Redacted began traveling with Epstein less and less over the ensuing years. Redacted remained in a relationship with Epstein until 2010. Earlier on, Redacted traveled often with Epstein and Redacted, who was Redacted's roommate and close friend. Redacted, and Ghislaine Maxwell also traveled with Epstein and Jean Luc, who was close friends of Epstein. Earlier on, Maxwell slept in Epstein's room when they traveled together, but eventually Redacted began sleeping in Epstein's room. Redacted recalled that the other assistants who worked for Maxwell and or Epstein were Redacted. And Redacted was unsure whether Redacted was an assistant as well. Redacted recalled that Epstein would pit the women in his circle against each other and encouraged a lot of secrecy. Redacted also recalled that a woman named Redacted introduced some young women to Epstein in New York. In and around 2006, Epstein told Redacted that Redacted had been arrested for a drug charge, and to save herself, she set up Epstein to be investigated. Wait, what? In and around 2006, Epstein told Redacted that Redacted had been arrested for a drug charge, and to save herself, she set up Epstein to be investigated. Redacted was familiar with Redacted as someone who gave Epstein massages. At some point later, Redacted learned that the charges against Epstein related to. Redacted recalls that her general sense at that time was that Epstein was being treated unfairly and that women were setting him up to get money. Redacted emphasized that she now realizes that the narrative was not true, but she accepted Epstein's version of the events at the time. To reinforce this narrative, Epstein provided Redacted with examples of women he claimed were blackmailing him. Epstein also told Redacted that if she was ever approached, she should not talk and should either tell Epstein or find a lawyer. Redacted recalled being interviewed by Epstein's attorney around the time of the first investigation, and she remembers going into the interview with the goal of being on Epstein's side. During that interview, she describes sex acts she had with other women with Epstein in Florida. Eventually, Epstein told Redacted that he was going to jail for soliciting a P word. Epstein told him that the women he had engaged in sex acts with had lied to him about their ages. When Epstein went to jail in 2008, Redacted became closer with Redacted, and they remained good friends for years until he was arrested in 2019, at which point Redacted attorneys advised her to stop speaking with Redacted. While Epstein was serving his first jail sentence in Florida, Redacted frequently visited him. She also recalled that Redacted and Brunel often visited Epstein. During that same period, Redacted began Redacted. After Epstein was released from jail in and around 2009, Epstein became increasingly aggressive and irritable with Redacted. At one point in 2009, Epstein became particularly violent with Redacted, so she left. He then convinced her to return, but again, in 2010, he was violent with her and she ended the relationship. Until about 2012, Redacted Epstein plane, he would have sex with her on some of those trips. In 2012, Redacted began working as Redacted at her own company, and she stopped having sex with Epstein. And the whole next sentence is Redacted. Until about 2012, Redacted Epstein's plane. In the last year or so before Epstein's 2019 arrest, he would check in with Redacted whenever a news article that referenced her was published. Redacted explained that because of her association with Epstein, she had not been able to maintain steady employment or build new relationships. Redacted told Epstein that these difficulties told Epstein about these difficulties and that they came to an agreement that Epstein would double whatever money she was able to make through her work as redacted. He also covered medical expenses for her and paid for her attorneys when she was deposed in 2015. Redacted also noticed that whatever negative articles were published, Epstein would wire her money. This included a $100,000 wire shortly after the Miami Herald series was published in November 2018. Redacted believed Epstein sent her this money because he felt guilty for the trouble the articles accused her of. What? Let me see. Miami Herald, November 2018. Who's in this article? Can we pull it up? Yes. Oh my goodness. Let me see what this says. Both men. Okay, Kirk Ellis. I don't know what his client, Palm Beach multimillionaire Jeffrey Epstein, was accused of assembling cult-like underage girls. Okay, okay. Let me see if he brings up her name. Friends included Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Prince Andrew. Not only would Epstein serve just 13 months in county jail. Okay, the part required Epstein. I don't think anyone has been told the truth about what Jeffrey Epstein did. There's somebody named Acosta. This was not a situation, he said, she said. More than a decade later, at a time when Olympic gymnasts and Hollywood actresses become a catalyst, Jeffrey Epstein's all have been forgotten. Over the past year, key people involved in the investigation. Okay. 2 witnesses in the criminal prosecution. The women are now mothers, wives, nurses, bartenders. Okay. Some had served time in prison. One young woman was found dead in a rundown motel. He required to register as an SO. Epstein had accused, okay, it doesn't say a second lawsuit. Acosta. The girl's story. I'm trying to find out who's the female named in here. Special prosecutor who investigated Monica Lewinsky. I can't figure out who it is. This article is really long, too. Rick Bradshaw would not answer questions. Jack Goldberger. The women who went to Jeffrey Epstein's mansion as girls tend to divide their lives into 2 parts: life before Jeffrey, life after. Mm. I'm gonna have to read. There's a lot of people mentioned in this article, so I'm gonna have to read who the girl was in here. Female staff named Sarah Kellen. That was a female staff assistant. Once sexually gratified, okay. Okay, sometimes he would instruct a young woman he described as his SCX slave. Nadia Markinkova? I wonder if that's her. One girl told police, okay. Nadia Markinkova? I do that too. These people were not human. Search up who did Jeffrey Epstein date in 2012. Let's see if her name comes up. No, it's just stupid Ghislaine. And then Shuliak comes up, but it wasn't her. Oh, she's missing. She's missing? It must not be her. I'm curious. We're gonna have to find out before we continue this article because I'm like freaking out. An Epstein assistant who is accused in civil lawsuit. So maybe it is her. Flight logs associated. Yep. A longtime associate of Jeffrey and Epstein. That's all it says. Jeffrey's global girl. That's what they call her, global girl. She is one of the 4 accomplices of Jeffrey Epstein who was given immunity. Maybe it is her. Hmm. This included a 100 wire shortly after the Miami Herald. Hmm. She was known as his global girl. She was a pilot, former model. She pleaded the 5th. She was an accomplice. She was an accomplice. Hmm. Interesting. Or in the article, use the keyword girlfriend. Yeah. I thought I had tried that. Let me see. Mm-mm. So Nadia comes up in here. Mm-mm. I don't see like any other than the dudes. Like alleges that Epstein used international modeling. Rothsteins are included in this. Hmm. I'll have to like read this in its entirety. It's pretty long by who did I say? Miami Herald. Well, they honestly they had a lot of articles on him that I'm looking at. They did like 6 of them on him. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna figure it out before we finish this article, but we're gonna stop there tonight because I still have another live scheduled after this. I wanna watch that next, Asim. I do. We're 3 hours in, guys. We have done 3 hours in of this document. I don't know if YouTube's gonna even leave it up. So if you're here and listen to the live, I appreciate you. I know that YouTube has been taking down specific videos automatically or demonetizing them. So this document is controversial because it's already off of the DOJ website. They removed it. So they probably don't want anybody talking about it. And we're halfway through. We're on page 46. We're going to leave off on the part, yeah, the Miami Herald girl. Let me see, how long do we have till we get into Yes, and then this does bring up Les Wexner and everything. Actually, let's finish the next part. I want to finish actually that's a lot. No, it'll take us like another hour. So I'm going to leave off on she sent her money because she felt guilty. I'm going to find out who this girl is. And then tomorrow we'll pick up on this specific article on this page and we'll finish it in depth tomorrow. Yeah, I didn't even realize it was already like over 3 hours. Elliot time. No, I'm not in the mood for reading anymore. Let's do either good reading, Melly. Thank you, Evie. We'll finish it tomorrow. I hope it doesn't get taken down. We're gonna do another live right after this. We're either gonna do Epstein or Les Wexner or another live of videos. So let me know. Let me know. Thank you, Debbie. Are you guys down for the Les Wexner deposition? I already have it ready to go. Or yeah, we could do that too. Also, for sure, don't think some are human. No, they're not. I am. Okay. All right. I'm ending this live. We'll continue tomorrow with part 2. Dang it. Now I have to do a part 2. I'll do a part 2 of this document, I guess. Yeah, I'll have to. We're halfway through. We're on page 46 of 86. I must not give up. Okay, we'll maybe watch that then. Tap the like button on the way out, guys. Tap, 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 because you already know they're trying to censor me. I know this is going to get demonetized if it's not already. Let me see. It's not in my studio yet. But once I get off this live, it'll be in my YouTube creator studio and it'll say demonetized. So hit the like button. I'm going to schedule another live. Give me maybe 10, 15 minutes. Whichever one I decide to go with, we'll schedule it. But if we do Les Wexner, we're also going to have to do a part 2 of that because I know it's super long. So leave Melly alone on YouTube. You tell him, Austin. Tell him to leave me the hell alone. We're just fighting for justice here. Oh my God. But we are going to finish Elliot. I want to finish Elliot tomorrow. I might consider that all days. I might consider Jody tonight. So it's going to be one of the 3 that I mentioned. So turn on your little notifications. Please, please, please hit the like button. I'm going to find out who that female is in this article. I also have another live of pictures. So we'll have to schedule that. Okay. They all going to hell. They're all demons in them files. I really wish they would all go to hell, highly favored, because this is absolutely ridiculous. How all of these are not, people are not in prison blows my mind. You are in great mental health and you will not harm yourself ever. Exactly, Abuelita. Exactly. I am in great mental health and I will not harm myself ever. So if YouTube decides to disappear my channel or my lives or me, one of Epstein's people, you already know. So it's going to be a surprise. It's going to be a surprise. Yes, yes. Okay. I'll see you guys on the next live shortly. I will schedule part number 2 for this. I'm going to start earlier tomorrow on this because I want to get through the whole thing. So I will see you guys shortly on the next live. Please tap, 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 tap that like button. I really appreciate that, especially on these Epstein videos. Okay. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.